sec. Let me click
Wow,
this.
cool castle.
Wow, cool castle. All right. So, to explain this to people who are new to this or have never seen them or whatever, normally these interviews are to discuss RP, the ideas behind RP, the concepts that we're doing, and, you know, sort of like deep dive into it and all of that stuff. Yeah, all of the buoys are on 2 chairs right now. You could pick the red one or the green one, but you're definitely on one of them, stacked. And I'm on my own chair, so thank you. But that's the purpose of the interviews. Some of the people here I have interviewed previously, and some I have not. So I figured I would at least do the first question that I had always been doing to the people that we don't know about. And then we can move into more general stuff, because this round of interviews was supposed to be like more story focused and less like RP mechanic tech kind of stuff. So that's the goal here. If you're looking for previous interviews, I have interviewed Itro, I have interviewed Denverkin, and I have interviewed myself. So the new people would be Ewok, Fair, and Zekros, I believe, unless I'm forgetting an interview entirely.
Did you use a mirror to interview yourself?
Well, I count Gob. Yesterday he did the interview of me. We swapped roles, so that was wild. Yep, I got banned during that interview, so yeah. Anyway, in the past, yeah. And moving on from that, I'll ask, I guess in alphabetical order, starting with Ewok. How'd you get into RP, and how'd you wind up wherever we are right now?
I was bored with playing Ark, and I was looking for a new server to play Ark on and something different to do, because Ark PvE is super boring.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know, I saw Venilus on Twitch, and then, you know, found Darkside, and then through hanging out in the Discord and stuff, that's how I met you guys, and then, you know, stuff snowballed from there.
That's cool, that's cool. Fair, how did you wind up? Although I feel like I asked you at some point, but anyway.
Probably.
I haven't interviewed you, right? Like, that's never happened, right? Okay, cool.
No. We just have that many deep, heartfelt conversations.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, I just, some of my streamers, I just noticed them playing this new game, and so yeah, I checked it out, and it was Atlas, it was RP, it was on Darkside, and after watching a bit, and I thought, I want to try this, and yeah, I hopped on, found my footing a bit, and yeah, joined a couple of seasons since then.
Which season do you remember that you started?
I don't remember the numbers. It's that long ago. I think it was 3.
So you were a waiver?
A waiver?
Yeah, you had a wave when you joined?
Yeah,
yes.
Old school.
Yes. There was definitely a wave, yep.
Don't know which one. Cool. All right.
I think they went up to 3. 3 or 4 was the last wave, and then it switched to just everybody's coming in.
Yeah, I think 4 was the last wave, so yeah. Cool. And then Zekros.
Yes.
I know you first from Conan, but how'd you get into RP and wind up, I guess, in Conan and then over here and all of that stuff?
For me, it began like 10 years ago. There was originally, when I started playing Minecraft, there was a Dutch series called Minecraft Kingdoms. That's what got me first into RP. It was just pure text-based RP. I think 2 years ago, I made a switch to, I believe, Valheim RP when it came out. I think it was 2 years ago. There I met a streamer who then brought me to GTA RP. Then I started playing Conan, where I found streamers playing Conan RP. And then eventually I found streamers playing on multiple RP servers, and I'm basically hopping from server to server. I don't have a steady one. Multiple at the same time.
What a crazy path. I've never spoken to anyone who was like, oh, well, I started in Minecraft and then I moved to Valheim. That's wild. I don't even know of anyone who's ever played Valheim RP. I guess it's possible, but I didn't know. That's cool.
That was weird. It's Minecraft Valheim GTA corner.
Well, yeah, it's true. I do wonder if the other people know that you and I discussed joining up and coming into Atlas, and that I was like, okay, I'll join up and we can hang, but I want to do the Buoys again because we had done it previously, and you were like, all right, cool, but the goal is to get a galleon. And we had like this whole discussion where I was like, we're gonna be against that. Like, everyone you meet is gonna be against that. Did everyone else know that?
Nope.
No, you guys had kicked him out by the time I ran into you all. So I heard stories about the galleon, and I had seen the galleon, but I never actually got to meet him during the season.
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't get kicked out. Harold just died.
Yeah.
He died on
Harold
sea.
died. Yeah. Itro, you
He
were
got,
probably the only
killed.
one besides Fair who would have known about the possible galleon like goal. Did you know before we like were RPing? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so. I think I did.
Yeah, cool.
It's a stupid idea anyway. Like, yeah.
Not a galleon, it's a very big schooner.
Oh god, who was it that it was Sergeant who used to call schooners baby brigs, and oh man, they used to make everybody so mad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then so the way it played out was me and Zekros were like, all right, cool, we'll do this idea, and then anyone who can get in or wants to tag along, definitely do it. And then we just happened to meet Fair, like so randomly. It felt like Fair, I know that we've discussed like you didn't expect what was coming, but like what was that like to just wind up inside this existence of the company or whatever?
To be honest, I mean, when I joined, it was a bit of an impromptu decision. I wasn't sure, so I hopped in, and then I was looking at all this chaos going on and people trying to get a spot for their rafts, and I was out there as you were putting your raft down. I was like, sod this, I'm going to see if these guys are interested in grouping up, and you seemed a lot more talkative than everyone else around you, who was obviously setting up their groups or already had set up their groups.
Mm-hmm.
So you just seemed like a good option.
From what I remember, you didn't have an intention to be like a negative or evil kind of character, right? Did you change a whole lot?
I left it very open. I did have sort of, I did have the way of going sort of the thug route. But I built the character to be a bit unpleasant looking, a bit more gruff, just for that possibility. But I definitely wasn't expecting all the scams.
Okay, just before I move on to another question, let me point out that you say you built him gruff. He looks like a thief, right? Like that was the intention, even though you said all the time that he wasn't supposed to look like a thief?
When I dressed him up that way, to be fair, when I got the blackjack as well. That hat was perfect for it, yes. A little flat cap.
When someone insists so often that it's not the case, that I think it's the case, I start second guessing myself. So I'm definitely glad that.
I mean, we robbed a warehouse together while the people were right next to.
I know. Also,
What did I miss?
We were talking about when Fair himself robbed a warehouse and I was not involved.
Right.
Oh, I think I saw that on stream one day.
Yeah. Pierre never was supposed to actually commit like a crime that would count as a crime per the rules or whatever. He's supposed to live in that gray area, And Derek was like, all right, I'm going in, because Pierre said it, and I was like, oh, well, I guess we're doing this now. That's cool, though. Oh, I do have actual questions written. Normally what I do is ask sort of group questions that can apply to anyone, and then specific questions to whoever I'm interviewing. In this case, a bunch of people, so I'll try and tailor it to that. I guess first off, I'd like to know from Itro, Denver, and Ewok, how you felt about doing the idea again. That we always see a lot of people who do the similar character again, or the similar concept or idea again. And when we went into this, like, obviously we had done it before, right? So how'd you feel about that? Going in order of the alphabet, because it's easiest, if you want.
Well, I wasn't doing I was doing a new character.
Mm-hmm.
But are you referring to yourself, Pierre?
Well, just the company idea of the Buoys, because technically Folger.
Oh, okay. No, I'm fine with that.
And stuff, yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that because it's just one person that kind of brings along new characters, or if there's more than one. I like the idea. I like this, soggy boys. So.
Yeah.
And coming up with stupid scams, or the coupon book, that was a good one.
Oh, the coupon book was my favorite scam this season. I made so much money off of that.
Things that you see in everyday life, then you just use those.
Yeah.
They worked back then.
I personally was excited to have you playing a different character, just because Folger was sort of a weird inclusion into the Buoys, and like it didn't super fit, but like we made it work, and we made scams off.
We were corrupting that kid. We were corrupting that kid so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was.
He
cool
was
to
not
have
Svee's son, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Svee's son.
Hey, it's hard to play. That's why I thought about playing him in 5.5. It was too dang hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then
I got another character, but it's not. He kept coming up. If I would, play again, probably, if it's 6.0, I don't know if that's going on, but
if 6.0 exists, I got ideas too, I guess. Probably not Soggy Buoys though.
I thought it was a great idea for everybody that could get together as the club, even though like Elias didn't live there at the laundry, and still do things together. I thought it was wonderful. Yeah,
that's one of my main questions. So, Ewok, you've been a huge member of the club the whole time. So, what did you think about the second time?
Well, I mean, we talk about this a lot in the Discord and stuff, and I know you were kind of like, oh man, everyone's doing the same idea again, but it doesn't feel like the same Buoys this time. And we had a bunch of different scams. I mean, I played a similar character, you played the same character, but Atro played somebody different. It was a completely different composition of the club. We had a bunch of new people too, so it doesn't feel like it was a repeat season. I would not do the Buoys again next time though, unless it's like another 2-year break. That's the other thing too. It was 2 years between us doing the idea the one time and this time, so it felt a little fresh again.
Yeah, so that concept is something I do want to look at and examine. The idea that basically the club says, go do whatever you want, I don't care, just bring back something that is club related when we meet again, right? So we have people who don't live within the company. They don't sail with the company necessarily. They go to their own events. They run their own events, whatever. But at any time, we can join up and be a part of the club. Even if one of us sails a galleon, for example, they just can't come in their galleon. You know what I mean? So,
right. Like having the other ship wasn't the crime. It was getting caught in the other ship.
Yeah, true. It can exist. You just can't bring it. But
don't let any of the boys see in it.
Do you think it made us too fractured? Anyone who wants to answer, because Harold was basically gone from when we set up trying to get his galleon, and Derek obviously was on a different time zone, so he did all sorts of stuff we don't know about. And then Denver didn't even live there. Did you think it made it too fractured as a group?
In retrospect, I would have liked to have like moved closer, probably. I mean, where I chose to live and where Flutter lived with me when we moved in on the island together was like 2 sectors away. Like it was strategically located because it was exactly 2 sectors away from everybody we knew.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a burden to travel that far. Yeah, like it was so much nicer to be like, hey, we decided we're gonna go sail to Five Torches to do something tomorrow, but then also everybody was at Five Torches and it was just a convenient meetup spot. Like it would have been nicer to just, be closer if we were, even though we were living apart.
Yeah.
I think we would have done more together as a group. It would have been easier to organize. I mean, obviously, because there were times Elias would show up at the laundry and nobody was around. And that's just the nature of it. But yeah, it would have been better if it had at least been on the same grid or so.
I picked where I picked because the other two went to sleep because they are on a different time zone. And I remember seeing the spot and Hidalgo also like losing his mind when I was like, oh, this is the perfect spot for what we want to do. But I did pick the grid itself because it's, even though it is 3, it's 2 grids technically from the Navy. It's 2 grids from the other, whatever it's called, Freeport. And I thought that those 2 would be the like poppin' ones. I didn't know where Five Torches would be at that point. And we had discussed like being involved in Five Torches if we ran into them. So that was definitely a goal. But at the time, I just picked it because of like it was in between the Freeports, and we needed those to get job ideas basically. And I don't like moving. I don't like it.
That stinks.
No, yeah, it's a big pain in the ass. Though Steve was very set up that we could have moved. Like,
Yeah.
we had eventually built the trailer park, but originally the idea was I'm living in a fish shack somewhere because I'm a nomad and I just live on my schooner.
Mm-hmm. Well, even Itro had a different spot that he was like, oh, I live on Yub Yub or whatever.
Isla Yub Nub.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well I had to, that didn't work out. But I also had my my timeshare.
Right, the timeshare and everything. The amount of times we stayed over at Five Torches definitely felt like we can live there, second home kind of stuff, even though we're just renting or whatever.
I do think the idea of doing like an apartment building would be incredibly fun, of like everybody does their own thing or everybody's the solo company, but somebody is the landlord and rents out an apartment building to the whole group.
Yeah, that's true. Although we have seen that in the past and work out. I would say that it's kind of similar to the fraternity. Not that I knew them super well, but that did occur in both 4 and 5, for the record. And then Renegade Dastards Galleon, where they rented rooms out, and it, like, you just woke up in an adventure every time you woke up, basically.
5.5 had the La Royale. It turned into a hotel, and they did a lot of similar stuff. But I don't know. I kind of imagined it like a sitcom, living like Three's Company, but in Atlas.
Yeah, well, that did kind of occur with Pierre, Derek, and whatever name Itro was going along at the time. Quinoa, basically, but he would change his name to Deshaun and stuff.
You changed my name first, and I just kept going along with it.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But, like, I remember multiple times that Derek and I would come down, see a new name, and go, oh, I wonder what's happening. And we would come in, and, like, the mannequin would be in a different position, and the hats would have changed. And, like, the whole room was different. And it definitely felt like, oh, this is our downstairs neighbor who's an old man who's very strange, And so that was cool.
Yeah, I would purposely do all that to screw with everyone.
See, that's the stuff I kind of miss about living closer to the group, because I mean, me and Flutter would do that, but it's more fun in a bigger group, I guess, because there's more suspects. When it's only two people, it's pretty much, oh man, something weird happened. Well, it had to be the other person.
Right. Like when we did.
Noah cracked me up.
Yeah, Quinoa was good. I was
Running around with a knife or something. Like, slavery.
having a flashback and chasing Pierre
Yeah.
around. Yeah. I was reminded of our arc home or whatever, where we would wake up and there would be like new graffiti in the bathroom, and we would have to sort of figure out who did the graffiti or who changed the area or who made the new pets or whatever. So you're right that having
Dude,
a
that
company
poop thing was
is
my
sick.
favorite part of Ark. Making the flooding the toilet and making everything brown.
But let me point out that most of us are against the concept of large company and like all the people and all of that stuff. So what do you think the balance is between having the fun environment and then also not having the cliques and the chaos that can, or not chaos, but disorganization of too many people?
I mean, I think most groups, they're expected to work together and to be these large groups that do everything together, and that's when tensions happen. If one person wants to sail off, I mean, partially due to the ship limits, if one person wants to sail off for a little bit and do their own thing, there's a bit of tension even in doing that. But I mean, how the Buoys work, we could just sail off and do our own thing, regardless. So I don't know if it would have suffered too much from a bit of a larger group, in the same way that some of the groups do.
One, I want to say Flutter's got like crazy latency, because as soon as you said that, she was responding in chat. But 10 people even seems like a little lot for me. Like the Buoys didn't really usually run 10 people. Like 6, 7, somewhere in there probably.
I think there were 15 people who logged into that Arc server. So if there were 3 Dincharas, then the rest of us would have been in that one company. So that would have been 11 or 12 or somewhere around there. So
Yeah, I think
was that too much?
10 to 12, I think, because you're gonna have people that don't want to wake up a lot. You're gonna have people who want to go mess around on their own,
or who
and that's the
die,
only thing or die.
like Zekros.
So, can't blame me.
Yeah, no, we don't blame you.
I got pirated 7 times.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, wait, hold on. You played for like 4 days. How did you get pirated 7 times?
I played for more than 4 days. I was just not home a lot.
Okay.
I think I played for 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. Well,
I met Harold once. I think that first time you guys came to 5 Torches and claiming you'd been pirated and robbed of all your clothing and things.
Oh yeah, he
definitely.
was there. Yeah. Yeah. Man,
I
what
kept
a
those clothes
genius
for a long time.
Yeah, I had those clothes for a long time as well. Thanks. So that actually is one of my questions. I guess we can go in reverse order, so that I have an answer, because I have an answer to. What's something that probably not a lot of people saw that you thought was an interesting experience or good RP or whatever, specifically on this past server, and looking for that story? Zekros.
I mean, on my side. Goddamn. For Harold's story, you mean? Well, I did play 2 characters in the past 2 first season and the 0.5 season. I played 2 different characters. So, second one I didn't see.
0.5? I did not know. Okay.
I played a character named Doug Johnson.
Okay.
Master Weaponsmith. No, but in the Harold, what people did not see, Harold, that galleon he got for free.
For free, you farmed the book. Let's be honest. You farmed the book.
Yeah.
No, he actually scammed an entire group out of it.
Oh, okay.
He said he had given the gold, he didn't.
Right.
He gave one person gold originally, but got it back because it took so long, and he still got the galleon.
Nice. And
very nice.
So you didn't trade a book or anything like that for it?
No, the bad galleon was free. Then later he went to another group, Which funnily is the group that I joined up with 0.5, and he's kind of also got those 6 switching attachments out of them for free as well.
Nice.
So Herald's entire ship was free.
Well, I feel less bad about syncing it then. I remember you saying like, oh, I got this great deal, or I got it for free or whatever, but I didn't really believe that, because how do you get a whole ship for free? But it does make sense if you did basically a short change con. That's pretty cool.
Didn't we get a whole ship for free in 4.0 somehow?
Oh, well, yeah, but that's another thing I'd like to discuss a little later, the availability of resources and the way it lends to the buoys specifically. But I do think, well, I mean, we got multiple ships for free for sure over time. Mm-hmm.
I got one for just having a better schooner than you.
It wasn't better. It didn't make sense. You shouldn't have gotten it, but it's fine.
I don't know. I loved Fair's schooner. Is one of my favorite ones.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, sure, I guess. Fine. I'll accept
Look,
it.
But that ship, that was the ship that we ended up giving to Flutter's character. Was it Bob the Hobo?
The
And
free
then
ship?
the free ship. And then we took it to there was a city on the island that we lived on. And we had ran into like a husband and wife team that were a pair of shipwrights. And we took it over there and we got them to basically redesign the entire top deck for us so that it wasn't as jank as it was. And that was the ship that she sailed like all of 5.0.
Nice.
We actually sold that to her for like 7,000 salt or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was salty about that whole encounter and experience all the way through Preceptor buying or selling or whatever he did with it, all of that stuff. I was like, come on, this could be such a good scam. We're letting it go, please. But we did that because it gave someone RP, right? And it also gave the shipwrights RP, and it gave all sorts of people RP over time, and someone had a ship that they could sail and all of that. So
Yeah,
cool.
that ship had a lot of RP around it and had like a long life.
That poor little girl.
Oh, that poor little girl who helped build it. So sad.
I was not. I mean, I let Bob buy it, but yeah, I knew. You know, Steve was an old hand. He was like, "Oh, what? All right. How much did we pay for that? Okay, sure, whatever."
Yeah. So I
Shut up. It was
going
too.
with the like things that people didn't see, you know, behind the scenes or whatever. I actually farmed like probably 4 days a week. After I finished streaming, I would farm wood and thatch and sometimes stone like until 1 a.m. like all the time, because we just couldn't steal enough to make the company make sense and like have any sort of way that we could progress, right? So like I would be like just
hilarious.
on at 1 a.m. and freaking here comes Deshaun or whatever Quinoa is calling himself, and he's like, sup, and he's like just building whatever junk, you know, I need built for the next day, or replacement pieces or whatever, because we just couldn't get anything, you know, without actually farming. So behind the scenes, I farmed like so much junk. It was awful. Ugh,
Yeah,
damn.
I did very similar.
Same. I know. I was doing the opposite thing on the opposite shift, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And I was specced into it. You know, I had all the perks I could get, all the tools. It was just awful.
Yeah, the grind was real.
I used to tell people Steve was allergic to work, but every day before work I'd wake up and I'd grind chopping down trees and stuff for like an hour before anybody was awake. Then I'd wake up and I'd paint hives on him and be like, "Oh, I worked this morning."
That's pretty good. Yeah, don't
Stone
tell
did a
anyone.
lot of grinding.
You did?
No, Stone did.
Oh well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he did a lot of.
He was always
I took a
on
lot
late
of
at
his
night.
stuff.
Yeah,
It was,
that's
I don't know, stuff felt expensive. I guess because we didn't even really build that big. Like you guys built way bigger than we did, and I mean, I guess I needed it for the schooner because eventually, either Flutter came in. I don't remember, but somebody learned how to make the ship parts. So I was like, finally, I can alter my schooner and turn it into a hot rod and stuff. And
yeah.
we used so much resources for that, and then I think we traded a bunch of resources to those shipwrights to get them to redo Flutter's schooner.
Which makes Zekros stealing a whole ship even crazier. Like the amount that we salvaged, well, someone else salvaged for us off of that ship was enough to build multiple ships for us and finish the building that we needed finished and like all sorts of junk. It's insane that he just got it for free on accident, and it's insane that someone could farm that much. Like, what were they doing? Farming all the time with animals?
Oh, it was a group of 18 people.
Yeah.
Oh, they
18
were
people
big.
with like
Okay.
the specialized tools and stuff doing ships.
Yeah.
I know that's what places like Twin Rivers used to do. We talked to Jack, who was Cerebro,
Hmm?
and him and the guy who played Mr. Pegarino, who I don't know who the player was who played him. I mean, I think I probably talked to him in the Discord at some time. I just don't remember who it is. Anyway, they would go on like long, like 9-hour resource gathering trips where they would just take a bunch of tools and a ship that could carry it all and like a repair thing, and they would spend 9 hours a day. Like that was their shift, and then they would bring all those resources home so the builders would be able to do stuff. Like people treated it like a job.
That's crazy.
Saboro, I said
Yeah.
Cerebro.
you made an X-Men. But I do
Anyway,
think
he's Jack.
yeah, true.
He always plays Jack.
I do think it's wild that people were grinding that much, and that we grinded at all. None of us, not one single person of us, should have had to grind, I don't think, for the amount of time we were trying to do scams and stuff on people. Yeah.
It was a completely different experience from like doing it in 4.0 as far as being able to get resources off of people and stuff, and just people's willingness to be like, here you go.
Yeah, I think we were poor like we should have been the first time, but it wasn't as fun, like it made the jobs really, really important when we did them, and then when they didn't work out, we just had to grind off screen, and that sucked. But fair, you played a lot in the off shift from us, not the off shift, total. Even though you have pointed out multiple times that it did seem that way. What's something that happened that maybe not a lot of people saw that you think is dope or whatever?
I mean, you are right in that it was very off shift. It was very quiet during the EU hours. But I would often go off to the free port and try and get a little bit of RP there. I was dressed up in my full thug gear and trying to look a bit shifty, find the shiftiest pose, hiding in an alley. And I was just selling seeds, but I had some good interactions there, just rinsing people for seeds that they were going to get for half the price elsewhere. But and that's actually where I spotted Ewok's character.
Yeah, Freeport RP in 5.0 was where it was at. It was so fun just hanging out at the Freeport and like running into people, randomly complaining about the curse words they're using as they're running back and forth. And I loved the Freeports last season.
There's a lot of people, though, that did just run straight through, not interested at all in talking to people.
That's where I developed my sextant theory, which I don't remember. I think I've told you guys out of character, but if somebody ran by with a sextant on their back, guaranteed they were not going to stop and listen to whatever thing I was selling, because I tried to sell knives. Like I had gotten a bunch of swords from somebody, so I spent a lot of time walking around the Freeport trying to sell knives. And if they had a sextant on their back, didn't care about me, ran right past me every time.
You think that's because they're running for their buff, or they're just a sailor trying to,
I think it was a
So,
tell of the type of people who are more interested in playing the game and getting from point A to point B rather than, um, actually interacting with people and just, wasting time
yeah,
playing with other people.
yeah,
You know how it is. Nobody in the buoys knew how fast their ship went because nobody used a sextant because we didn't care because the
yeah.
number doesn't matter because we weren't about playing the game. We were about RPing as people who went the fastest.
Yeah, that's true. It didn't matter how fast it actually was. We just had to say that it was the fastest and have someone standing next to us go, "It's true."
And then people would beat us, and then we would be like, "Oh my god, how did you beat us?
What's happening?
Oh, I'm gonna have to redesign my ship."
Yeah, and that's cool. That gave us a reason to grind off screen.
Yeah. It made people remember you too. I remember you guys challenging that sloop dude to a race, and he just blew you guys out of the water. Sloops are so much faster. I wish we'd been a
Yeah.
sloop club.
Oh
Well-
god, watching Hart trying to sail straight into the wind. Oh, it's painful.
Hey, it was attacking maneuver, okay? It was attacking maneuver. But yeah, I don't know who that guy was, but I do remember like that whole interaction because the reputation mattered, like
Yeah.
we said it and then he won and we were like, well, sloops, yeah, if it had been a fair race.
He even came back to say hi once, but I was the only one around at the time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll count that, I guess, as your thing that happened that nobody
Yeah,
saw.
people loved the club because behind the scenes, I would constantly get asked for like screenshots and stuff of like, "Oh, hey, I was telling somebody about how you guys ran a biker club. Do you got a screenshot of like your ships together or something like that?" Like that happened 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I showed off specifically Quinoa's ship over and over and over again because it looked exactly completely wrong. You know what I mean? Like it didn't look like a ship. It looked like a big muscle race car kind of ship.
Yeah,
It was
I was
so-
trying to go for a hot rod,
yeah.
like the
Yeah.
Munsters, like hot rod or something.
Oh yeah, the monsters. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's a sort of hot rod style car that cruises around 6th Street here sometimes, and it's exactly like that. The engine just hangs out everywhere. There's tons of chrome, and then there's like a bench seat in the back, with the old school leather, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hardest
I
part was those dang stoves or the furnaces, trying to get those lined up and stuff. That was my hardest problem.
That's
When
why
it
I
looked
liked
like
their ship was
aesthetically nice.
how doing the lineup of all the stoves and stuff because that's way harder. Like I got frustrated just trying to get my stoves to face the same direction and not like be touching and
Yeah, it's really hard to do that.
yeah, I love that this lighting all the stoves at once was always our secret weapon to be like, "Oh, get out of here quick."
I used it once this season, but it didn't work. Like they didn't stay on the ship, but I did use it. After I discovered
fair
it
to
kinda
use
weren't.
though. That's why.
No, it was
worried
definitely
about.
power gaming. It was more
No
like a joke thing to
way!
do when we weren't around, but
No
It's literally-
way.
Its radius was literally like a galleon length.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it got so hot so quick. Like 4 of those stoves on at the same time. Ugh.
we did think about it in the previous season when we had more of the ships that had the furnaces in the front. We used our spoilers to test if we could get far enough away to kill people basically, but not kill us, and it definitely works. Like 100%. If you park angled correctly, you could kill an entire ship and just stand on the back of yours.
yeah, better than the explosive ship.
Yeah.
You just right,
Would be your
right
last
full
time.
furnace into a ship.
Let's get banned. All right, cool.
that is how that was the question yesterday is how you would get banned. That's how you would do it. You weaponize the stoves as a ramming ship.
Yeah. But like
Ugh.
it's such a cool idea, like it's part of our ships. It works. It doesn't break like the game. I think it's
No.
a cool idea.
No, having the stoves was neat. It was one of those things where it was, I feel, okay, like if I was an admin and I had to actually judge on it, it's like borderline, right? Because it's,
Yeah.
I don't know, that it's a little more steam, it's a little more steampunk-ish than it was, you know, Age of Pirates, but it
Yeah.
was still, it wasn't like that one dude who had the Enterprise and was playing, sounds of the doors opening and closing when he went below deck, so.
Wow.
Yo, that's funny.
You
I
also wouldn't
guess,
see a ship of all glass in 1722 either. So
yeah, like
No,
that
or
freaking tugboat.
spoilers and
Yeah.
oh man, I had that tugboat last season.
Ewok, are you counting the Freeport exchanges as your this was cool and it happened and not a lot of people saw it kind of question answer thing?
Yeah, hanging out in the Freeport was like my favorite thing of 5.0, I guess, and not a lot of people saw it because it's like Fair was saying, you would just meet so many random people, and yeah, a lot of people will run by you, but occasionally you would have that gold interaction where someone was just like, "What did he say? Oh, I'm super interested." I did that line from Tiger King so many times. I would sit because either Flutter or Lumen, as part of their admin duties, had like left a chair out on one of the things. So I would just sit in that chair, and anytime I would see someone get in chat range, I would loudly bemoan, "Oh, I will never financially recover from this." And sometimes people would stop and ask me, and then I would start being like, "Oh yeah, I got robbed. Do you want this sword? I found a sword on the ground, you know." And other times people would just run right by. They'd stop because they heard somebody in range, and then they just keep running afterwards.
Nice. I did not know about the chair.
I don't remember what Freeport that is. It was just in, I think maybe
I
B6 or something.
I remember seeing your ship at the Freeport several times when I went down in B6.
Oh yeah, I hung out at the Freeport for like the first week and a half before I finally moved somewhere.
Yeah. Just trolling the easy marks.
Yeah. The very first day I was there, I ran into a girl who was selling like quality guns or something like that. Like she just had a bunch of guns for sale, and she was doing the same thing I was doing. She was just running around because it was
Yeah.
before anybody had the market stalls or anything like that. They didn't work in the Freeport, and that was cool. I was sad that I didn't see more people doing that. That's actually what gave me the idea for doing the knives. I had all the swords, and I was like, oh, if that girl's running around doing this, selling knives is a great scam. I could do the same thing.
Geez. Freshly sharpened knives. Trust me.
Door to door selling knives. Nobody cared. Unless it was 105, people didn't care.
Oh yeah. There you go.
It
Denver,
was fun though.
thoughts on stuff that I know you basically hung out with two people who only played while they streamed, so and then everyone visited to stream your event. So is there anything you thought was dope that happened out of the public view?
Out of the view is tough because yeah, you're right. IT and Kel were streaming pretty much all the time. I think they were streaming when the pirates told us to stay out of the south side because the guy had his directions wrong. They were actually on the northwest side, and he was like, "East is ours. You still go over there. Then stay out of the south side." And finally, one of his crew was like, "Wait, what are you talking about?"
On your little string of like 5 islands or the grid?
It was across the way from the museum, kind of where the other people were settling.
Mm-hmm.
We had pirates move in for about maybe 2 days, maybe 3, and they came over to introduce themselves, and so we had to talk to the governor or somebody. And they were actually where that guy that you guys ran the inspections scam was at.
Oh, okay.
They were actually there, and it was okay. They were a little over the top, but I thought, well, there's a little tension. Maybe we'll get some other black sails coming to the museum eventually. It'll be something.
Good point. Your own little point of aggression or whatever.
Yeah, a little bit of tension, a little bit of whatever. If the Navy comes to the museum, it'll be interesting. This is just an Elias thing, and I don't know if anybody ever noticed, but at some point Elias started because I'd go around and clear out the pigs off that little bitty island we were on. I started punching him to death because Pierre had annoyed Elias over something. I can't remember what it was now. But
Yeah.
I was kind of like thinking, okay, Elias is going to start training just in case he ever decides to make the call.
Yeah, sick. Yo, that would have been awesome. How could Pierre possibly annoy someone? I do remember that Elias seemed very like mad and touchy, but I can't remember what it was. It was something like cosmetic, I feel like, about like Petey or something like that, you know, one of the animals or the ship or something.
It may have been something dumb like that I just decided that, okay,
Yeah.
Elias would really care about that for whatever
Man,
reason.
imagine Elias vying for presidentship
For
because
president.
yeah, if anyone doesn't know, the way you become president is you challenge the current president to a fist fight and you win and you are the president, right? So
Yeah. That was like one of the bylaws in 4.0. Fist fights were such a huge thing.
nobody did it, but
Because Pierre was a killer. Pierre used to knock people out all the time. Every time Pierre got into a fist fight, the other person went down, except for the crow. The crow won, and the crow couldn't speak English to know about the club rules, so that they never got to be president. But yeah.
so in
I didn't want that kind of responsibility. It's a lot of
Fair
responsibility.
said once you saw Pierre punch a lion to death.
yeah. Pierre in 5.0 was way more of a killer than in 4.0 because I took no other talents except for fighting and fist fighting. Anything that had any relevance, I built Pierre to kill through fist fighting, and I was like, there's like anyone who challenges me, we're gonna go and it's gonna be a good fight. So I don't think anyone should have done it. And I punched an elephant to death, even through being like pushed back and all of that stuff. Pierre just kept running up and punching it and killed one at the postal service. Yeah.
Look, Dr. May wasn't in the club yet, Shrimp.
Yeah. And she didn't use the approved weapons of her fists. And she always wore those gloves, so she might have won anyway, but
Yeah. See, little stuff like that, like, that's why I don't feel like it was such a repeat this time, because we didn't do paint night. We didn't do any of the other sort of event stuff that we did. Like, I mean, yeah, we did the same company, but the theme was a lot different than it was the last time we did it.
yeah. I do have a point on that, but I want to ask Itro because Itro also not really European times, even though I think it was, but Itro played a ton where I was just supposed to be asleep and maybe I wasn't, but I wasn't paying attention. So Itro, you got anything that was super cool that happened that maybe nobody else saw?
Not really. I would just be up farming wood and stuff, and then like one of the neighbors would come by and introduce themselves and whatnot. I'm kind of I use like Atlas and stuff to like work on my anxiety of talking to people. Like, you ever notice like a lot of times I'll just kind of be. If you ever see me sailing by myself, that's me like working on stuff. Or if I go out somewhere by myself, and like I sail to my timeshare or the timeshare, forget the name of the museum, and go talk to people. I would get like really kind of nervous before I would, like work on like what I was going to say and whatnot. But it helped me. It helps me a lot. So, but a lot of times I would just stay on the island and mess around. But
where was
at late night, nothing ever happened. I never sailed anywhere. I just farmed, and then whoever came by, I forget their name.
Go ahead. Tim.
Where was your timeshare at?
What was that?
Where was your timeshare located?
Oh, it was on the museum island. That's where I came, and I was like, I got a timeshare. And I tried to hassle the IT and Tilly about giving me some property there.
Yeah, I counted.
I never caught on to that.
He was supposed to run it changed a bunch of times, but wasn't it like a psychology thing and then a nail salon, or maybe the other way?
Nail salon.
Yeah, I never decided what I wanted to do. I was like, the nail salon was, well, you can't paint nails though. Like I tried to do my nails in game, but I could never get to paint. You would also see a lot more of that too. I figured that worked. But
Yeah,
then
no,
I was
that's
like, oh, I'll
fair.
just paint nails on boats, and then I came up with like the nuts, which I still have here.
Oh God.
So,
Doing the finger tats on Steve was a huge pain and took forever. Like it was, and I had to change the font too. Like that was a lot of it, was changing the font to something that fit better on the knuckles. Like even one of the letters was crooked. I never got it straight, but I got it good enough that I was not mad at it, so I just left it.
yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool if you could actually do nails and you could sit and chat and stuff.
Well, there definitely is a way, but I think you have to use the map and stuff. I'm pretty sure I saw them in 3.0, and I've sort of tried to look at like fingers, but
I
Liz or
don't know if they do
something.
fingernails, but yeah, there's a lot of people that did makeup.
Well,
In
I think
5.5, Flutter did my makeup.
dang, I don't know what her name was. The agent for Pierre, I'm pretty sure she had red fingernails. I'll have to go back and look at those clips, but I'm pretty sure she had nails.
Also,
A
I'm
lot of
really
the
bad
issue
at
with
art.
it is the way Atlas works. Like it stretches everybody's character
Yeah.
different, so it's
Mhm.
hard to do like a template for that. Because if somebody messed with the hand slider, like where their fingernails are at, is going to be different. That's why Steve's finger tattoos took so long, because I couldn't just use a template. I had to do like a custom template of, hey, here's where my fingers are at, and then kind of adjust the letters and be like, okay, I think this is it. Because even then, you're not, the brushes aren't fine, or I guess I don't know. You guys, a lot of you guys are way better artists than I am as far as that. Like some of the paintings that Hart does in game, I'm like, man, how do you get your mouse to move like that? So getting like the exact spot of like I'm gonna do this exactly on the end of the fingernail or exactly on the knuckle is really hard.
We definitely saw that in like the best tattoo artists, because if you remember, Safiria did the kinky tattoos for 3 point whatever, where they had ladies night every night, right? So kinky was always there, and he gave a bunch of tramp stamp tattoos that said kinky on the, like, just above the butt. But every person is different, so Safiria would basically, like, right in front of you, swipe you with a brush, pull your whatever file over, alter the image down to where it needed to be, and then re-swipe you and apply it in like 8 minutes or something. It was crazy how fast she could do that junk.
Yeah, I mean, if you're good at Photoshop, it probably goes quicker. I only ever use Photoshop for stuff like that. So like once a year. So I know what I need to do, but it's a laborious process because you don't know the keyboard shortcuts and stuff. But yeah, people that are good at Photoshop are like wizards sometimes.
I forgot the freaking question that I had when you were talking, so I'm just gonna move on.
I have a question for you. Can I ask
All right.
you a
Yeah,
question?
do it up. Yeah.
So, what was going on with the upholstery business? Because that was kind of a front as well, since you can't really. It's more RP.
Right.
So, what were your? Because my nail salon was kind of that as well.
And
Yes.
what was up with the color of the chair with Iker? I didn't catch on.
As you know, or I guess you may not know, anyone who's viewing, or you peeps, I don't really spoil stuff for myself. I didn't watch any of the mod videos. I didn't read any of the stuff. I didn't listen to anyone who talked about it. So I actually had no idea what could be done with any of the mods or furniture or any of that stuff. So I said, I'm going to open an upholstery business. And at that time, we didn't even have furniture that could be set up like I was doing it, right? We only had like the basic tables. So I was like, I'm just going to do this. And then I managed to get Iker to be like, Tansy wants a chair in a different color. And I don't think she knew either. But I was like, cool, bring it over, set it down for me. I'll start working on it. And we like stood there and discussed what she wanted changed and how she wanted it altered. And it was supposed to be like teal or something, cyan, something like that, to match her candy sort of bakery business, right? And I just agreed because I thought you could color the furniture, and I tried all over that sucker, and I was like, oh no, you can't paint it. And I was like, cool, this helps because it is a front. I had no intention of ever completing any jobs. I just needed a place to make contacts, to sell things or whatever, like we had used in the past, right? So it was always going to be a front. I just needed one person to like go through the process so I could say like, oh yeah, this person, you know, it's a real job, right? And even that was completely fake. It never would work. It could never work. And I didn't know until I had agreed. And then I had to keep explaining like, oh yeah, it's delayed, or oh, I had someone else working on it. And then I finally said like, oh, Quinoa messed it up and he did the wrong color. So I'm going to undo it and I'm going to put it back, you know, and something you won't have to pay or something like that because it was impossible. Yeah.
Yeah, we were just using all those buildings as scam fronts.
5.5.
Yes. Every single.
Like in
yeah.
The second floor of my building just had all my scams on, like all these papers of my titles business, whatever other ones I was working on.
Exactly. Even when we asked Elias to sell things because we didn't have, you know, the space or the business to sell things, he was just fencing everything that we had gotten that might have value through scams and stuff. And we just didn't have a place to do that would make sense. So we had to find a fence, and we just used Elias's connections. All of the cannonballs and stuff, all of that junk was scammed.
Oh, I figured.
Yeah, of course, because that's what we do. Oh, dang. My point from before was something about like, I wanted to talk about how difficult these scams actually were, because nobody had anything for us to take, right? Like, except for Zekros stealing a galleon and out of nowhere, like that's legit, that's dope, and we did turn that around and then farm from it using other people's work, which I think was a brilliant piece of art on our part. Like, it was so difficult. We just couldn't do the scams that we had done in 4.0 and 5.0 because it was so hard to get everything. Everything required so much farming that no one was just going to give it away.
People were a lot more wary too.
Yeah. Okay. So that's another thing we've discussed. Do you think that the server settings or the willingness to go along with RP or whatever limited us and our RP, or did it add more creativity?
I don't think people had anything to mess around with. It was all pretty much nose to the grindstone, trying to get a town built. So you could RP. You're trying to get this done. You're trying to get your tames. You're trying to get your breeding. You know, I think it was just the first month, especially.
Well, yes, I had a little bit of different experience because I came in so late, so I missed a lot of that and came in after people had their towns and all that stuff up, and then I just kind of hung around. But yeah, it was different. I think all of that's true.
See, I would rock up with Derek, looking shifty as all hell, blackjack on my belt, emerging from the darkness to your port, and often with black sails as well. And then people were like, oh yeah. As soon as I gave a fake name, though, that was it. You know, as soon as I gave the fake name, that was it. Oh no, actually, never mind.
The fake name bit was one of my favorite bits from 5.0.
Yeah.
I didn't think it worked as well.
I don't think it worked as well either, but it was, I don't know, I enjoy coming up with fake names because that was not something I did in 4.0. Like, Svi was always Svi. The joke was that nobody could pronounce Svi, so everybody called him Steve, so.
Yeah, true. Well, we already know Zekros's answer, but hey, Zekros, did you have any trouble scamming anyone out of any large sort of ships?
Absolutely not. I just guilt tripped him for 3 days straight.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It took me 3 days. That's the only problem I had.
Yeah,
Oh,
like I
yeah.
could get like free tools and stuff, but it would always, it's hanging out at the Freeport, and people would be like, "Oh, here's these junk tools that I turned in that I don't want because they're not better than what I have on my belt." So
Right.
throw, and then when they'd walk away, I'd be like, "Scoop, hey, does anybody want free whatever? I'll sell you this."
But, and this might be of who a case of who I targeted. I will point at 4.0 and say that the first couple of days or week that we were actually trying to do scummy stuff, Pierre specifically, after the restaurant was built, so very, very early, I met Shrimps, pretended, or I had her sign something or whatever, or I forged it, I don't know. But then I took Shrimp's name immediately to Lady Nari and tried to scam an animal. And I scammed the price way, way down because I was like, oh, your friend sent me and all of that stuff, right? But imagine trying to scam an animal at the beginning of 5.0, like a big
no
bear.
way.
That would have been so difficult. No one would have gone for that.
I did run into one guy in the Freeport who was selling horses, and I was like, "Oh, that's neat. That's intuitive, intuitive or engine. I don't know. That's a neat idea." But ingenuity was the word I was trying to force out.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
but then I run a little bit away and I talk to somebody else, and that guy is like, "Hey, don't buy those horses. That dude's scamming. He's just going and taming horses out in the wild and then selling them. Those aren't like the really good horses that you can buy from the guys and stuff like that."
Yeah.
So I mean, you could do stuff like that, but I don't know. Being a breeder and a tamer and stuff's a big investment. Like you would have to be like, my whole focus the entire season is running nothing but livestock scams one way or the other.
Right. And I never pulled off a livestock or any animal scam in the 5.0 season, even though I did try at multiple places. They seem so much more valuable. Everything seemed so much more valuable. But I would like to point out that, so we had limited gains off of that, right? Do you think that also played into the overwhelming aggression of pirates and the piracy in this season versus the last one? Because I'll say this because no one immediately said anything. If you're a pirate and you pull someone over, you're either getting fish or you're getting nothing, it seemed like. And there was really no point to it,
Yeah. Well, we were a different type of pirates too. Like the times that people would stop and pull over and stuff, nobody run cannons on their ships like that. Like I remember a lot of times when we would do that in 4.0, the people would be so surprised when we were the guys who jumped over the ship, because usually we interrogated them about how fast their ship went if they wanted to race.
Yeah, but
There's that one guy with the Jamaican accent who was so offended that we weren't trying to rob him when we pulled him over. He gave us a whole lecture about how we were going to get killed one day doing that.
yeah. But my point is, like, if we couldn't make any money and we couldn't survive and we couldn't make resources, how can you shift blame onto pirates for literally robbing everyone when even if they rob everything from the old people, what are they getting? 8 gold or 20 gold or something that they're taking to the Freeport? They didn't get any resources. They didn't get any of that junk because none of us had anything, and we definitely didn't sail with it, right?
Yeah, that's true, but I don't know. It's kind of a number game too, though, because a lot of those big pirate companies were also the companies that had like towards the max, and they would have people that would do their resource gathering and stuff. So you know, they weren't really doing it for those sorts of things compared to like last season. I remember there was a time back in 3.5 before we ran the buoys where I was very, very mad because we got pirated, and the dude stole my 35 Caminalet because it was the only bit we had, and he was like, "Oh, resource," and he scooped it right out of my flipping pockets.
Get wrecked.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot harder for the people being pulled over as well to RP it out, because you've always got that connection to your character and on the work that you've actually put in. And with everything being more valuable, just getting yourself robbed is so much more devastating. in that season, I think, than it had been in the past for me.
Hmm.
So I think if you're as a pirate, you're facing more hostile people. Generally, you're going to end up more hostile as well. It's just how you get used to interacting with these people.
Haven't we in the past said multiple times though, we want it to be more realistic, we want piracy to feel more like they're not just pulling us over to shop on our ship, right? We want them to actually rob us or whatever. And then here we have it, and like tons of people are like, oh, the piracy's out of control, they're just stealing everything.
I don't know. There's definitely a middle ground in it, because it's like how Zara was saying that, sometimes they got pirated so often. Like it's an over farming thing.
It wasn't. It may have been, but I remember myself, Kel, and IT were out on a ramshackle looking for a flotsam, and we got red flared by a black sailed brigantine, and it was Solutions Group.
Yeah.
And Kel and IT launched into their this is my brother, I'm sister, and his name was Elias, so Elias was like, hello, Captain Brother.
Yeah.
And as they sailed away, we heard Solutions like, that lady's batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Evolution was such a fun group.
And then we had Elias went out one day, a week or two later, on a sloop, and I think it was a sloop. Anyway, I was diving right around the island, and I came up from diving, and there was a pirate ship right there. They jumped over, they took all his weapons, and they were very angry because when I set sail, there was like 1 silver in the resource chest, and I was like, well, they must have took it. I don't know. I don't have any money, and I didn't. So as they left, because I didn't have anything, the guy was like, well, give me that grapple hook. I'm like, okay. That hurt more than anything I'd ever been tired of, because that was the only way I could make any kind of coin.
And don't you think that feels like real piracy? Everything's so dire and dear that they take one item that you need, boom, that's a real conflict in your story, right?
That hurt. I had to jump overboard, get the boxes, get the flotsam, get enough coin, and then go to the free port when I wasn't going to go there, and get another grapple to try to remake, recoup that loss. Yeah, it hurt a lot.
Well, that's true. Yeah. All the time that you could have been RPing, you had to basically farm up the next grapple hook, right? But also, in theory, it gives your character motivation to, do something against pirates or to go to the free port or whatever, when in theory, all you had been doing was farming money. But the second time that happens, like, you're devastated. That's days gone at that point, right?
Yeah, I'm at the time it hurt a lot. Now, a week later, it would have been different. But at the time, we were just so poor, so scraping by. I don't think for a while there, not everybody even had one. We had like 1 or 2 that we would share or pass around.
Yeah, that's kind of how the hobos were too. It was a lot of, hey, here's the one tool. Where'd you put it?
Yeah, Itro is the person who researches. So Quinoa told Pierre a lot of stuff about like the specialized tools. I mean, Derek did as well. But like, I didn't even realize that there were the 3 or 4 different types, because then you could also do meats and stuff. I didn't know any of that junk. I was just like, all right, well, let's build the freaking building and we'll play the dumb game, I guess.
I didn't know about some of that stuff either.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because if you didn't have a blacksmith or anything like that, like, it's for the big companies, it's not a big deal, because it's how Fair was saying earlier, they're the mega companies, so they got one of everything. But for the small companies, if you don't have a blacksmith, that is devastating. And that is, hey, I don't get to go RP today because I got to spend, because I was planning on selling the stuff I fished up, but now I got to go spend another 3 hours to get this, to go that, to do this, to do that. Like, you're back to playing the PvE game, which is just boring. You know, if you're
Yeah.
playing the PvE game all day, why not go play unofficial?
True.
Yeah, there was a bit too much playing the game for me.
Well, I have said multiple times I hate playing the game, so I don't think I
Yeah.
have to say that again.
Yeah, Atlas is the worst part of Atlas for sure.
Yeah. But, you know, we look at Conan, and Conan has the kits, and I do think we saw kits in these seasons that sort of started you out, and that was super dope, even though I didn't look at mine. But in Conan, a lot of servers will say, here's building pieces for what, like 400
Tier
pieces
3
or
stuff.
something? Yeah. Just to set you up to start the story, and then your story starts like, oh, I'm a wizard and I'm slowly turning into a werewolf, but only on the right side of my body, like stuff like that, you know. And then it's very much about the story and not really about you just grinding. You know, you might look for specific weapons or however that junk works, because I still don't know. But yeah. Should we just be given resources at the beginning to pre-build whatever?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, you can do, and you can just scale it up through the blueprints that they were releasing, these green and then the blue blueprints, whatever.
Oh
Just
yeah,
make
I mean,
it scale incredibly hard if you really want that, because all we needed was the basic schooners, and that's all you really need to get out there and start talking to people.
yeah, like just a little. I mean, I don't dislike the starting box, but yeah, like you know, a slightly bigger house to start in and stuff like that. So you could just be like, hey, you know, here's where I live, here's the dock where my ship's at, and I'm gonna go out and talk to other people and try to meet stuff. You know,
Yeah.
I'm still salty that the very first person Steve ran into that I tried to buy docks from wanted to charge me 2.5 gold for 5 wooden docks that is literally in the very first book that you learn as far as being a carpenter. Like, just people were insane with the way stuff is.
I will
Or
offer
even just better gather rates for the first 2
Mhm.
weeks.
or 1 week, which is what 4.0 had.
Yep.
When Ewok and I built Red Dick's Backdoor Memorial Restaurant and Gift Shoppy, we
Hey,
farmed and built for 1 week because it was declared, hey, this is you can RP, but this is supposed to get everybody built up. So the gathering rates were like doubled or tripled from what they would be for the rest of the server like season. And we just farmed and built, and then once the restaurant was built and we had the kitchen and like the beginnings of the house, we stopped farming entirely and we played our characters from there on, and we scammed basically everything else.
like would occasionally gather like a little bit of wood to fuel like the ovens and stuff like that, or for just like little personal projects to get done on the quick. But
And complained the entire time.
oh my god, the bees. That's how I became allergic to bees, because farming
Yeah.
next to those beehives killed Svi, and then from then on the RP was that Svi was deathly allergic to bees and super afraid of them.
In a completely related vein and also totally unique. So I guess just to catch everybody up, if you haven't been following, there is this current battle between a bunch of different Twitch streamers about like how old school Twitch streaming was and like the new school of Twitch streaming, right? And I want to ask, do you think that there is a similar thing occurring in the RP communities because of things like NoPixel, in which the biggest streamers have said, "Oh, I'm on NoPixel. Look at how insane I can be, and look how fun this is, and all that stuff." So, like, this huge wave of new people comes to RP, not having, you know, a decade of experience or 3 years or however long it is, right? They're brand new to it, but they've seen a little bit of it. Do you think that there's, in all of our communities, no matter where you are, do you think there's like an old guard of RPers who are like, oh, you know, you got to be this way or RP this way, and then there's like a new wave trying to come in up against these gatekeepers? Or do you think that's just sort of me just making it up?
I don't want to say gatekeepers, but 100%, and I'll even put a finer pin on it, is I feel the GTA influence is very bad as far as the pirates go because it implies a very cops versus robbers mentality. So the pirates are very much, I have to go against the Navy because they're the police and that's what my job is I'm the robber, as opposed to like, hey, I am the story element out there doing whatever, living my life, who occasionally battles other pirates, battles civilians, and maybe comes up against the Navy, but not as my defining definition of my character is I have to battle the Navy all the time and, be this own entity that's against the Navy.
I'm the main character. Dang it!
I think
A lot of that too.
the big servers also live off that drama. They create this drama and create these polarizing views because it brings in the viewers, but it's not necessarily the best role play.
I think that there is this disconnect between the two different people because not necessarily GTA specifically, but as I expressed to you guys in the past, there's Fortnite RP, and it's like real. What? Like there's actual Fortnite RP where the one I played in, it's like a school and you attend classes, and then there's recess, and then you can go to the town and live in your house, and like it's role play. Like it has everything except voice comms unless you're in a group, right? So at that point, you're introducing people who are basically whatever the age is for Fortnite when it's guns. So I'm going to guess 13, but probably more like 8, 11, 13, right in that range. And you're saying, hey, check out this role play, right? So the range, I feel like, of people who are exposed to role play is so much wider because it's been shown off in so many places where people are doing what we did, right? Like, oh, I see an RP server and situation, so let me join that. And they have no experience in any other form, except what they saw on stream. And even just seeing like Vin or Pony or somebody else, like when you start RPing, you can't do that because, except in rare cases, you just aren't that good. Like you don't have the reflexes and the skills and all that stuff, and you stumble a lot. So that's my opinion personally, that it's not necessarily the like cops and robbers style, but more just like the range is so wide now that we're seeing way more people, people from like Valheim RP are here,
Life is Feudal was my first.
Bad. Yeah, I mean, as I was thinking back about it, I know I said originally I was looking for an RP server for Ark, but I never found that. Conan was the first game that I RP'd on like a streamer sub server, and then transitioned into Atlas after that. But yeah, I mean, that's different games and the RP being spread out like that is, I don't know, but I feel like how you're saying, like different games, sometimes people also have to learn that they need to sometimes conform to what they're playing. Like the school stuff would not work very well on Atlas, like in the same sort of thing as we've been shown multiple times because people just aren't into it, I don't know where I was really going with that, but yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing that people are coming in from all those different things, but sometimes it's, you got to get with the group.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first joined RP, I'll be honest, that was awful. It's very difficult sometimes to separate your character from yourself. Luckily, I didn't get into any major drama, I don't think. But even then, something bad happens to my character. Ugh. I mean, I've got better, but these people have to learn. And, a lot of these people probably did have a lot of extra time during the pandemic, for instance, and have joined relatively recently. And we haven't had a season for quite a while as well, so that people are rusty there as well. This is their first opportunity, so I think it will get better. I think it will get better because you only get better at RP. I think.
Good point.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of that too, like me and Flutter ran into a whole town of people who were. It was okay. It was a mixed bag. The very first person we ran into screamed that they did not want to interact with people the moment they saw us, but. It was more, hey, I'm frustrated with building. They were very kind. And then everybody else was after that. But literally every person we met made some RP flub where they referred to something as like, a level or a game or something like that, and instantly they were just like, oh, I mean this. They would always cover it, and everyone's trying, and that's all people ask, is just, hey, you're trying, and you're not spending the entire time living in the real world. You're just trying to interact with people in the RP world. And we never went back to that
dang
town,
it.
but
I spelled it wrong.
man, it was so great. Those guys were cool.
I advocate for the other side all the time. I think I think that the piracy and the aggression and all that stuff like is super necessary, and I do advocate for it all the time. And then I don't play it and I don't do it. So when we see it, like the way people do piracy and the routines they fall into and stuff, they must be doing that for a reason. Like the game must lend itself to those behaviors. Are there any ways we could think of that the things that we don't like about the game or the RP setting or whatever that we're doing can be changed? And I know I ask this every single time, but I still don't know exactly because we all play super differently.
I mean, not having the server down for 2 years is probably good.
Right? True.
Yeah, and I don't know, some of that's kind of baked into the game too. It's like I forget who said it earlier, but a lot of the other servers, the big servers kind of thrive off that drama too of like, hey, it's Navy versus Pirates, and that's just, the game we've chosen to run and like the theme we've chosen to run for the RP.
I think relieving the economy tensions to be completely away from the Navy and completely away from, a lot easier just to get by. Or relax and just give more.
When we're done with this question, remind me that I have a follow-up question regarding the buoys collectively before we go into another topic, please.
All right. I will not remember. I have my finger up for something else to remember that I forgot what you said.
I have already forgotten.
So it's whatever this figure is, I might think of it. But I've been pirated several times. I wouldn't say a lot because I generally avoid it. When people are like, oh, I always stop for red flares. I do not. Oh, that was my point. Do you think that what we're actually doing and we're actually playing is more realistic, and the things that we don't like are the parts that are realistic? For example, the chaos characters, the off the wall characters, like you don't really meet those in real life, right? Normally what you meet is someone who doesn't want to talk to you in line. They don't want to interact with you at all. They just want to buy their junk at the grocery store and leave, right? Or they want to
not where I live. I don't know.
Oh, really? They want to talk to you? People talk to you a lot?
In 4.0, Svi would get pirated all the time, and people love Svi, because I would usually have like cake or something like that to hand out. People were interested in the ship name, and I was well known, so they would be like, oh, I've heard of you, and Svi had a very distinctive voice, and I'm very loud, so they would, from far away, they would be like, oh, is that Svi? So pirating in 4.0 was fun. 5.0 had a very different feel, and I would not stop our ships. And I know Knightley asked in the chat, and I can't speak for Hart, but personally, it was part of our RP. We were racing pirates and we were racing ships. You're not going to catch me. You're some dumb dude who had to put cannons on their ship and is weighing their ship down for some reason that we could not understand, because to us, ships were for racing and ships were being fast. So we were never going to stop because there was no way you're going to catch up because you made all these dumb choices about putting. But even though some of our ships were not optimized like that, my ship in 5.0 was very not optimized and was not like I had way more points in beds so that my crew was cheap because I had no money. So my ship was very slow because the weight ratio was off. Everybody else's ship was super fast because they had nothing on it and they put all their points in weight, so it wasn't like, oh man, it's not that we didn't want to have the interaction with pirates. It's just in character personally for Steve, at least in 5.0, which as I said is a different experience from Svi in 4.0, was that in character, why would I ever stop? My ship's so much faster than yours. You're dumb. I'm quick.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Hart decided to charge a couple of brigs. I think that was my
Yeah.
first interaction with Barrett's.
I was gonna bring that up, but if you want to tell the story, it's cool.
Well, wasn't too much to it. We saw a couple of brigs coming towards us, so he turned around and just charged right between them, throwing some insults out as you did, and we were definitely in range.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh man, that's classic throwing insults out at somebody's dumb brig while you're on the schooner. That is classic
Yeah.
Buoys.
Yeah. They couldn't even fire a cannon before we were just out, gone.
Like,
I remember seeing that and hearing Water's voice, and then
it was Water. Yeah. Yeah, it was this Australian dude we had played pirates with on GGRP. Yeah. Super funny to see him there. But I do agree that, like, oh, if you stop, it's RP or whatever, but any pirate should never stop. Why would you expose yourself to loss or risk? And then really anybody who felt like they had valuables on board wouldn't stop. That's not real. Even if you say, oh, it promotes RP, well, that doesn't promote your character's RP. That promotes the pirate's RP. And that's cool, and I'm down for that. But, like, if everything is so valuable and so dire that losing just a single grapple hook can devastate you for a day or multiple days, why would you stop and get pirated? It doesn't make any sense. And that's part of the whole economy. Like, pirates had to scrap and grind other ships just to try and make ends meet, unless they were people who were playing, like, all the different points in a company that could make basically everything. And if they were doing that, why pirate? It doesn't make any sense.
A lot of that too. Okay, and I don't know. I guess I'm speaking for other people in this, and because I never got pirated in 5.0. A lot of pirating really feels like punching down, because they were the big companies. They had the people that could make anything, so they had, like, that grapple hook that they took from Denver. They definitely did not need. They for sure had people that could make them more grappling hooks. Like, it was. It definitely felt like a punching down situation a lot of times.
I think that. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I saw the question definitely about the serious RP, and you've been mentioning as well about the realism. I think it must have been 3.0. I don't know if you know Rum Runners.
Yeah, we know.
But I was running with them, and we would actually had this whole arc where we had a black-sailed ship. We'd kick the person out who tried to make us go into the pirate army. So we were just not interested. But we had this black-sailed ship. We couldn't change the colours because of the server rules. And we took it out. We took it out pirating. We used it for advertisement, and we would pull people over. We'd get super serious. We'd antagonise, and then we'd just make them drink rum and rate it, and never break character. We had our code names and all that. And yes, it wasn't serious RP, but for them on the boats, they had all this tension that was suddenly relieved. It was a great experience for everyone, and some people would be cheeky with it and refuse to say it was good, and they might get a few cannonballs and stuff like that.
Were you guys like a brewery too?
Yes.
Okay.
We were trying to brew the stuff that was illegal while playing both sides.
I never really met you guys, but in 3.0, me and Hidalgo flippin' hated you in character, because we were also playing brewing people, and people would constantly compare our rum to yours.
Well, ours was better, of course. Yeah.
Oh, no way. We had Brother Bernard's glowing rum, which was made with green algae we purposely harvested from the ocean floor because we couldn't find any other vegetable. And then when we finally did find a vegetable, it was garlic. So we also brewed garlic rum, which stunk so horrible that we built a whole nother building for it. That was like some of my favorite RP. It was coming up with dumb ideas for the different alcohols. But yeah, everybody always said you guys had better rum than us, and every time I would hear about it, it would make me frustrated in character. And Bernard would grunt about it, or I would grunt about it. I forget what my character Elmud was my character's name. Elmud would grunt about it.
I actually am against that. I think that doesn't make any sense, and this is only my opinion and not representative of anyone else. But, like, why play a silly pirate? Even though I played the Pirate of Love for a while. Why play a silly pirate if, like, there is a lot of risk involved in that, and you don't get anything from it. If you are pirating someone because it's April Fools and you change the colors of your ships or whatever junk, and you're cruising around and you like pirate them, and then you're like, ha ha ha, April Fools, and you all get shot at the end of that because it turns out that you're not a risk at all, like that's what should happen. You basically played a giant trick on someone. Not to call out specifically Siboro or any of those peeps who actually did that, and I thought that was cool, but like if you do that over a whole season, you're not a threat, you're a target, and you should be taken out. And if no one takes you out, that's not realistic either, you know?
With the rum runners, it was the end of an arc when we had this boat, this black sail boat. We're coming from a lot of actual serious drama, RP. You know, someone had literally been exiled against his will, and all this. He was fine out of character and everything, but it you know, it was this. We were still armed. We still arm up. We still do it serious. We still pull them over. You know, red flare and everything. And it was just, it's because it wasn't this focus of the company.
Yeah.
At all. It wasn't something we wanted to do. It was just this extra little activity that we could do. It wasn't, you know, we had the rum business.
Right.
We had the hosting of the Navy one day and then hosting of Pirates the next. All that good stuff. So it's just about having it as part, not being the focus, made it so much better for me.
I just thought about tying into this sort of idea about scary pirates or like violent pirates. We were taking away the ability to play anything other than human, right? Because it's got to be realistic or whatever. Do you think that limited creativity? And I'd like to point out that in previous seasons, we had amazing things like Solutions, whole tribe or whatever they were, of like cannibals or whatever they were, worshiping.
But they were all human, though. They weren't like a supernatural group. They were just like supernaturally influenced as far as like the deity they worshipped.
But we also had the vampires. We also had everything that happened with Ossus, the undead, that whole group where they basically created an island just of beautiful, scary junk. But we didn't have any of that. It didn't seem like in 5.0. I didn't play 5.5, so I don't know. But have y'all seen any of that sort of creativity?
Yeah, no, I mean, there was a lot of creative stuff out there. It just wasn't in the same vein of like, oh, hey, I mean, people still had like neat buildings, and there was stuff out there like, you know, the museum and other places that were like built you know, they just didn't have the monster stories to go with them, which, you know, sometimes were great and sometimes were meh.
No supernatural kind of thing. But I get what you're saying, but I think you can still be creative and not need that backstory or that angle.
Okay. I think it's cool, but you know, it's fine with me. I don't mind.
It's neat. I don't know. It's like that thing how you were saying. It runs the gambit, because sometimes you get new people who just take it a little bit too far, and then other times you have people that hit that exact sweet spot with it. It's the same thing with pirates. Like scare, you know, it runs the gamut. Like sometimes there's times where I've been pirated and by silly pirates and it's been fun, and then there's times where I've been pirated by silly pirates and it felt like I was just there to be an observer in whatever skit that they were running. Like they got onto my shit and they had a skit that they were going to go through, and I was literally just there to be the observer for their skit. And the same thing for scary pirates. And you know, it runs the gambit. Sometimes you get those people who are really good at like the improv RP, and sometimes you get the people who are like, here's what I'm going to do, and you know, it is what it is.
Yeah,
pirating for pants was a bit awful.
Even though I also did that one time against the rules, and I also reported myself, I'd like to point out, because I point that out all the time. But yes, and I turned that into RP also later on, which was pretty funny. But go ahead.
I played a fantasy character one season. My the season I was talking about, when Fair was doing the rum runners, my brewer monk was a dwarf, because the original idea was that the idea is I wanted to be part of the dwarven cavalry that rode sheeps, and then we had so much trouble brewing sheeps that me being a dwarf just meant that I was slightly shorter than most people, and I would constantly grunt at the people who were playing orcs and other stuff, like, oh hey, I'm so and so and I'm an orc, and I would just be like,
right, yeah, good times.
Yeah. That's when I met Boxster and all those other guys. That's how we met, was through that whole thing in my library and everything else.
I don't think fantasy's necessary or whatever. I think that if it's like a secondary portion of whatever the RP is, then that's cool. But like we said, when it crosses the line into like you have to suspend actual reality to believe it, then it seems more or less acceptable overall, I think.
Yeah, I think you can be mysterious and even supernatural while still being a person. You can have a mysterious background or do weird rituals or chanting or whatever. It doesn't have to do anything. It doesn't have to, signify anything or go anywhere really, but you can still be creative as a human.
Quinoa could have been a vampire. I would have believed that 100%. Yeah.
But, he also wouldn't get offended by everyone around thinking he's just delusional.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think he could be a fantasy character.
No,
Folger was Folger was a wood elf in that season, but I didn't really like. I guess I did mention this a lot of times because people are like wondering like why is this kid on his own?
We knew you were Link, young Link.
Oh, I've never played Zelda.
Well, you dressed up like young Link, so that was you. Let me look at my other question.
I was going for Keebler.
Hold on, wait. I remembered. I'm going back to something because who's that? Gab in the chat had asked about like who the group was.
Oh, yeah.
I know. Okay, so our gimmick was that everybody had their name on the sales and then the club stuff on their sales. Did you guys actually tell? How many people did you actually tell? Oh, hey, we're the Soggy Buoys. Like, how often did you tell people? Oh, hey, here's the club.
Never. Unless they were on a schooner. Never.
Yeah. If they were a potential prospect, then sure. But apart from that, I didn't even mention the cell color because I was actually running with black for a while.
Yeah, I did not run black in 5. I'll run in black, like that's so fun. Yeah, because it does. It makes your heart pound. It's like it's so fun because we're not running. Like I used to have weapons all the time, but Pierre didn't. Pierre was a fist fighter. So if we got into a fight and it popped off, there was a good chance both of us were going to die because we were going to get shot. No, only Fair is EU times.
Yeah.
The rest of us were like NA, and I don't know.
The concept.
I ran white.
As I say, I was scared for a while, yes, but I boldened up and I was just sailing with the actual, not the painted black, but the actual black that would appear in rendering distance.
Oh, see, that was
I was just sailing straight into the Navy.
Yeah, ran the. Yeah, sailing to the Navy was always fun because we would be doing stuff, and then you would hear people talking about your ship, and it would be like, "Oh man, let me try to kind of sneak away and hop on the ship and quickly sail out because people have noticed me."
I was about to sail off once, and this Navy soldier comes up, and I'm just, my heart stopped. I was just like, he's just, because my sails were coming down as he walked up.
Yeah.
So I just pulled them straight back up. And he's just like, have you seen this person gliding around? Oh, no. Oh, yeah, over there.
Yeah.
Just sailed the hell out. Slammed into the wall because I ran that quick.
Elias was at Tiny's, the zoo guy's funeral.
Yeah.
And he had the whatever the name of the ship was, but the schooner with the black sails, and 2 or 3 people would walk up and go, "Is that your purple schooner?" And Elias would go, "Yes." And it didn't click until I was like sailing back that I was like, "Oh, they must have noticed the sails."
The sails, yeah. Because it was always an oddity. People were like, why are these guys running black sails? They don't have no cannons on their ship. There's no gun ports or anything like that. Like, that was one of the things that I loved about the Buoys is it was always such an enigma to people that are like, oh, what are these guys doing? I don't get it. I mean, people got it, but at the same time, they didn't.
Yeah. My big push for the sails, and really why I pushed them this time so much, is because, well, you wouldn't have known if you were pirated by us, is the thing.
Yeah.
But
we weren't traditional pirates. We were scam artists.
Right. We're scam artists. We're con artists. You only realize that you've lost, if you ever realize that you've lost, after we're already gone. And the reason I pushed black so much is because in previous interviews, we discussed the way that it sort of skirts the rules because in my opinion at least, what we're doing is we are lying to someone to their face and then forcing them, because they can nameplate us, forcing them to accept whatever we say because they're not allowed to nameplate us. So the names on the sails, where we live on the sails, and the black sails is a big flag that says, whatever you're seeing, here's a clue as to what you should actually be seeing, even though you're not allowed to see what you're seeing. You know what I mean?
Though,
That's just my opinion.
The sales were always an issue because people would have trouble seeing them sometimes, right? Yeah, no one ever see. That's what I'm saying, Flutter, because the sales were an issue. People
Yeah.
always asked me about the back tattoo. Having the club on my back constantly when I walked around without the shirtless thing, people would be like, "Oh man, what's that?" Because it looked like a biker club thing, so they would be interested in like what the stuff was. But yeah, the sales, I think a lot of times because of the way that it rendered, people, wouldn't see. But yeah, we put a lot of work into, like, Gob made the whole thing the first time, and then
Yeah.
I made the templates this time and stuff for them. But yeah, that was always kind of bummed that because of the way the game works, people didn't always get to see that concept of the RP of like, hey, here's where we live, come figure out. We just tried to rob you of like 10 gold by telling you this big story, and we told you we lived on this other island, but as we sailed away, our sail said Caledonia.
Yeah. Itro, you got sale points?
What?
Oh, I thought your name lit up. All right, well, never mind. So never mind. I think, well, what I would do is if a scam, because like I said in the last interview, I was trying to be more aggressive and more open and more antagonistic. So if I thought that the scam went too well and I saw that they had a schooner, as I was leaving, I would say, hey, this is my schooner. I see you have a schooner. Can you see the sails? Just to see if they knew at least a little bit of what was going on. And if they could see them, I would pull them down and show them like, oh yeah, I'm in this club or whatever. Just to, like I said, give another clue. You have to give clues when you rob people, but if they don't know that you're robbing them, and you're not technically stealing because they gave it to you, then how can they ever figure it out if you lied the entire time without nameplating you? So, yeah. But I did say yesterday, 4.0 Pierre, I feel, was a work of art, and that this is more realistic as a version of like evil and stuff.
It's funny about the nameplating thing now that you say that. Because in 5.0, I constantly, like I said, I gave nobody Steve's name. I told no one except for people in the club, Bob, and I think I let it slip once or twice. And then Flutter constantly would accidentally be like, Steve? Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Steve's the third person who's back at our place. He lives in the shack. But and I don't feel like I ever got nameplated. Nobody was like, "Oh, hey, Steve," except for like maybe the very first person, that guy that lived on Isla Yubnub with me for like a little bit. He definitely nameplated me, but he felt very new. Like as I was like, "Oh, hey, man, I'll give you a ride to where I live and stuff." Just the conversation we had in the boat, he felt like he was very new. But in 5.5, man, people nameplated the twins all the time. We had like 2 or 3 people ruin because me and Flutter had this whole thing worked out about like how we hate each other's names and blah blah blah, and people would ruin it because they would be like, "Oh, Jenny and Jenny, are you 2 twins?" And we'd be like, "You motherfucker, you just nameplated us."
Yeah. But I mean, what can you do except call them on it right there, and then you're the person going, "Oh, how do you know our names? Have we met before?" And like you're basically interrogating them. So that
happened a lot. How'd you know we were sisters? We'd make them call out like how they'd identify that we were sisters because we looked exactly alike because we used the same character file.
Nice.
Yeah. I cannot count the amount of times I got nameplated.
Well, people were probably nameplating you because Harold's accent was basically impossible to understand. They'd be like, "What did he?"
Oh no, I changed up his voice every single time, and I changed his outfit as well.
Yeah.
See, stuff that's what I find fun about doing the buoys, because you're trying to do a scam, so it's like, oh man, how good of a story can I come up with?
Yeah.
I feel that's a lot of the things with telling people my name, because the name stuff always felt like it was last when I was given the fake name. So we'd be conversing for a while, and then I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm Julio Tambourine," and then you could see the pause as they were like, "Oh man, I've been talking to this dude for 10 minutes. I see it say Steve. Do I believe him?" It was kind of fun. Okay, yeah, Julio, what's going on? Like sometimes you would get people and it would click, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, let's go along with this because I've been enjoying this interaction. It's a fun idea."
Yeah, but that's the thing I'm pointing out. They have to do that per the rules.
Mhm.
So at that point, no matter what you say, they kind of have to agree with a little bit. There were almost no one in either season who was like, I don't believe this. This seems wrong. And the people who did that were already on alert. They knew who we were from past experiences or something like that. And so
That could be too.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. We're a different group though. Like, I mean, it's different for me because I kind of have a staff position on the server now. So, but most of us, I mean, no one's gonna be like, "Oh man, that person name plated us. I'm gonna report them" or anything like that. Like we roll
Yeah.
along with it, and we're like, "Oh hey, it's just something fun to do." At most now, maybe I'll go ping somebody in the RP thing and be like, "Oh hey, that was a fun interaction. I wish it would have been funner if this happened." Just because as a reminder. But it's not like they're gonna get in trouble for it.
Yeah. When Shelter and I did it, and we would rock up just the two of us, and I would remember the story all the way through. And the next time we saw each other, all three of us, I would remember what our fake names were and all that stuff. But man, I would say some junk with Fair and Itro, and I would forget it immediately, and then I would be like, "What the heck were our names again?"
You made those names impossible to remember.
I
That's
know.
why.
no one
That's why
else could
Steve's
remember.
aliases all were JTs.
I had to come to 1 point.
Well, I was
What the hell is my name?
Jared Lazar, I think.
Yeah, Jared Lazar, the actual name of Summit. Oh man, so funny.
That
And then
was
I changed
great.
his XQC's name for a while.
Yeah.
Felix Yang.
I wrote the letter to the male people pretending to be the lawyer for the JT fan club, and I gave them a list of all my aliases so that if anybody ever came looking for me, the mail would come to the right place.
Nice. Oh yeah, we wrote those fake letters to the Navy trying to get money and stuff. That never worked out. Damn.
Yeah, the impersonation RP I find to be like one of the funniest things. And I understand why like people would get mad about it, but it's such good like goofy RP.
Yeah, and that's the interaction I pointed out at the beginning. Like that faking the whole thing was great, or maybe that was yesterday. That was yesterday. We faked a whole port inspection for this guy who didn't know that we couldn't possibly have done it, and the only thing we lied about was at the very beginning. We lied about our names, and from there on, everything was the truth. And he paid us at the end and stuff. So, yeah. Pierre
Talking
did get
about
arrested
how
for the Navy. Yeah, late Navy laundry. That's stupid.
Yeah,
Talking about
I did
how,
not use the fake name. And afterwards as well, after that interview where I just felt, he's going to drop me into this. He's going to blame this on me. So-
Yeah, oh man, I could have seen you getting blamed by Pierre. That feels like a very Pierre
So I
thing
just
to do.
didn't go with the fake name that time. I was like, yeah. And then immediately, as soon as I get out, because I just walked out, I hear him trying to blame this person and getting the truth dropped in him that I didn't use that name.
They were okay. Back to talking about how you were saying with like how Pierre is a different character this season than he was from 4.0. The same thing. I mean, I know like Svi and Steve were different characters because they had like different professions and accents and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
a lot of Steve, what I did, who was just the second dude in the buoys, was because you and Shelter would go out and do those jobs and then come back and tell me the whole story of like, yeah, I was lemon candy and this, and I was always so jealous of like, man, Steve didn't get to go out and do all that
Sorry,
stuff.
bro.
It's how it was. So Steve
Sorry,
was
bro.
that's why Steve was a lot of like, oh man, I'm gonna tell people a fake name and I'm gonna see if they can do this because that's influenced the difference between the two.
Yeah.
That's how it was, man. You guys are you're so mean to Spee. scammed him out of his 10 gold. I was the only one who needed gold for my profession, and you guys scammed me out of it in the worst time.
We didn't even have professions. Yeah, that was good.
I
man.
know. Oh my god, I was so frustrated by that OOC because I was like, I can't not go along with it, and it's what Svi would do. And then I was like, I needed that 10 gold for my book. I can't make things for the catering business if I don't have that book.
Yeah, and the whole time it was fake anyway.
It was fake, and you guys just put it in a box. That's why I was so frustrated by it, because I knew you had scammed me, and it just went into a box, and it just sat in your room, and I was like, I need that money, but I can't touch it because it's in a box in his room, and I don't know about it in character.
Pierre was called criminally insane in a Navy stream after the arrest. That is like the goal. That was the goal, to be clearly a criminal, clearly like twisted, but not do the stuff that just doesn't make sense to have every single person doing, shooting people and blowing things up and all that stuff. So that was the goal. And
that's what I like. That is
lazy Haggerty that called you that as he was describing the situation.
Of course.
That's a good description for the Buoys. We were criminals by like our profession, but we were pirates by like the server rules and like the way stuff had to be classified. Like, really, we were more criminals than we were pirates.
Definitely. And the rules protect us way more than I think they should. But I think we specifically put enough clues out that, to make up for that.
Speaking of that, like, I don't know, being rob's like the way the rules are, being rob's weird because me and Flutter were robbed in 5.5 and the guy left a note, and while we didn't investigate it, we paid like a different group to go investigate it. It's like a weird thing because he literally told us where he lived and he left a very good note, but it's like, what are we supposed to do with that? Yeah, we got robbed and they left a note that said exactly where you're at. And, so we're here to get our stuff back. It's, but what do they do? Because if you don't tell them exactly where you live and you leave it too vague, then, you're worried that they're going to be like, oh, are they going to report me? Because robbing RP is such a contentious point for people. Flutter's butter and our money at like the worst time. It wasn't even a lot of money. That was the other thing that made me mad is their little poem about where they lived so that they took our gold, but it wasn't even like a full gold. They took all of our silver and it was like 75 silver. It was all we had.
I did what you're supposed to do when that occurred to Boxster. I went to this privateer company that I had accidentally crashed into their existence or whatever, and I met with them at the Freeport. I met with them at the Freeport in the bottom of their ship, and I was like, look, I need you to kill some people. Here's where I think they are. Here's as much money as I can do. I can't do it. Go kill some people. And then like we come back out and Boxster's back to just doing, the normal Boxster stuff, but like I played all the way through the way it's supposed to go, and it didn't work out, but at least I gave someone a job, So you could do that with the clues.
That's how it is too. Back in, remember, I know you talked about it because I bitched about it a lot of OC whenever Jimmy got robbed. Like it was fun, and we did a lot of RP came from that, but I was frustrated because I didn't feel like it was a resolution. I never got to find the person, stuff like that. It's sometimes that's how the theft RP goes.
Yeah. Well, okay, so on that, I know that we think we're cool, or whatever, but if we were on the other side of our scams and we've realized the end point and we're like, oh snap, I just got scammed, do you think we would be mad? Because I would be mad.
I think I would be laughing my ass off.
It depends on how well I saw the scam, right? Because we're a different breed too. Because I mean, you just in the way that I have a security training background as far as my education goes, your day job, stuff like that. Like finding the scam and being like, oh, how did that work is the interesting part for us. So if it was something where I was like, man, I can't figure out how they did it, I would probably be mad. But if I could see the trail and I was like, oh, that's so interesting, man, I need to do that next time, I would be joyous because I found out like a new thing to try out in character next time we're trying to get free resources or whatever.
Yeah.
I think
Go ahead.
I would be very salty, but at myself for not realizing rather than the other person.
Yeah, that's a lot of it too. Is a lot of afterwards of being like, "Oh, how did I not see that in the moment?"
Yeah.
I've been outplayed.
I gotta go. Gotta go work on dinner. But
All
thank
right,
you
cool.
For
Thanks for chilling. This is
interview.
longer than normal. So, yeah, thanks for
Oh,
chilling.
you got a
with
lot of
us.
people, so yeah.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, thank
Also,
you.
yeah, you're
We're
great.
talking a bunch.
Do whatever
Let's
you
just
need to do.
realized.
It's always
It's
fun
been
to
2
hang out.
hours, homies. If you gotta go, you gotta go. That's cool.
It's nearing 3 a.m. I need to sleep.
All right, do it
Oh,
up.
wow.
I'm going to call it here as well then.
All right.
Sorry.
Cool.
What?
No,
All
that's
of
good.
you folks are going to sleep, and it's dinner
all
time
the
out on the
EU,
on the West
Yeah.
Coast.
And
The West Coasters.
good night.
Good night.
Good night.
This is what I'm pointing out, like the way, our schedules are so different, and then you just go do whatever you need to do. That's how the company works. And then
Yeah, that was one of the joyous
Yeah.
things about the buoys is everybody had different. Okay, here's another question, and I don't mean to keep pointing back at 4.0 because I know mostly we've been trying to talk about this season. It felt like that worked so much better in 4.0. Like Shelter lived so far away, and
Yeah.
Sergeant wasn't even like a part of the company. They were just a hang around because they, wouldn't hop on a schooner. They insisted on driving a brig, and
yeah.
like what honk, what what do you feel made it so much easier last time to be like everybody's in these different companies around and we meshed our schedules versus in 5.0 it just felt like we couldn't get people to be like, meshing up.
I think about this a lot, and I do know the answer. It might not be the answer, but to me, it's the answer, right? So, first off, the Navy.
Oh my God, I hated going to the Navy so much.
No,
They're dumb.
Someone redeemed bad about the Navy. But go ahead, Denver.
It was the fact that 5.0 and 5.5, they were so short. It felt to me like 3.0, 4.0, even 2.0 went on for long enough that you could kind of expand and get to know other people grids away. Whereas these last seasons felt like you spent the first month grind and build and grind and build.
Yeah.
And then start going out, but you never had time to get to everywhere.
Yeah. Well, that kind of plays into my answer, but my answer was the simple fact, and I think this is true, you and I sacrificed real time and real RP to make it work. We not only did we like set the time that we would be there or whatever every day, and we actually were there, but we did that so reliably that if Denver had come by as Elias, we would have been there. And when
I had an hour shift I would put in every night at the here's the open hours, and I would sit at the dock just so if people came by. But also I was thinking about it too, and I think like running paint night and stuff, because we would have specific nights of like, oh hey, the club meeting's gonna be on this night before we go do the other stuff, so
the first event that I attempted to run basically ruined every event after it for 5.0 for me, because only the people I actually know and who are my friends came. Yes, the April Fool's Pirates came late, and that's cool. At the time I was mad, even though I don't think you can tell in the stream. I watched that specific interaction back, and like we did a whole parade just with them, right? So I don't think it came across as me being mad, but like nobody came to an event that was set up. Like you didn't have to pay anything, you didn't have to own anything. All you had to do was show up, and we were gonna do the event, right? And nobody came. So then like all the specific events that I tried to do afterwards, I put way less sort of effort into them. And oh, by the way, let me apologize to the people who did show up for the NFT event, specifically Flutter, who called me on it and reminded me that I had an event that I had forgotten, and all of 5 Torches that showed up. I do apologize. I was Having no one having bought tickets, I was like, oh well, this is a waste of time entirely.
Oh,
And
you were supposed to sell tickets? I just assumed because it was on the thing when I bought the NFT, it was on the thing, so I just assumed it was automatically show up this
well,
day. I didn't know it was like a
yeah,
scam for
so
buying tickets.
that is the ticket. Like the NFT
Okay.
was the ticket to get into the event, right? That's how NFTs have become this like token that gets you into specific events. So that's what was supposed to happen. But the only people who owned those NFT paintings were the Buoys and the people of Five Torches. Not a single other one had been sold except for one to a woman. I think she actually picked it up. She was like a crazy red-haired kind of cat lady who showed up every once in a while, who I don't remember her name, but I think she's the only one who actually bought one before that event, and there was no indication that anyone was coming. So I was like, oh, well, I'm out. And I think that a lot of events were like that, where, yeah, people would have come to paint night because it had the name, but if I had run my sculpture event or whatever I came up with as Samson poetry night at our location, I don't think anyone would come. Yeah, they went to the ones
Well,
at the
yeah,
Navy,
your location is
but-
different. See, I don't know. I had such a different experience, and maybe it's because you were the person who was running the paint nights, but that's how I felt about paint night. Nobody ever showed to the paint night that the Buoys
Yeah.
ran except for the people that we knew. And I spent Svi and
True.
Dr. May, so me and Shrimp spent a lot of time like advertising. Like I would go out and do the hard push against people, and nobody I advertised to would ever show up except I think like once or twice people did, but I would stop people randomly and be like, "Oh, hey, I see you got a really colorful ship. You look like a person who can appreciate art and color. Here's this thing. Oh man, we're doing Splatoon too. It's so fun.
Yeah.
You don't have to know how to paint." And I would sell as hard as I could sell, and nobody ever
Yeah.
showed up.
We had like two groups who showed up to Splatoon one time, and we ran
Yeah.
it successfully, and that was the only time. But let's look at that season, right? In that season, we had a specific time where we were there all the time. We did have people who would show up every once in a while, so we can say, okay, we had those interactions. Occasionally, people would show up to our events, and throughout all of that, throughout all the time and effort we put in, you still feel like no one showed up. We can compare that to the museum, right? Where IT and Telescope were there every day. They had a schedule. They ran the events, right? And nobody showed up to like the first month or some junk. I remember going there all the time, and just these old people standing around trying to work on their buildings. And I was like, man, this is like a drag.
Yeah.
You know? They
But
have
then after
all of
word
this
got out
stuff.
about them, though, man, it started being popping. But yeah,
Right.
it took a real long time for word to get out about them.
Right. And the only reason it continued to be poppin' is because they were there. Like they sacrificed their time to just sit in their port and run the event over and over and over again whenever anyone would show up. And that's the same thing that breeders have to do. That's the same thing that anybody who tries to sell stuff in person has to do. You have to sacrifice the going out so that when someone else goes out, there's someone sitting there to welcome
Right.
you. And that sucks.
Which plays into the time thing. Things need time to propagate through the seas or become known.
Right.
And especially when everybody's, head down, chopping trees and busting stone and harvesting things for the first several weeks. I honestly felt like at Five Torches, however long that lasted, we only had maybe a month where we started breathing and concentrated on doing the tours
Yeah.
and started actually even sailing around.
Yeah. But this season was definitely more realistic. People were more invested in their stuff. They were more invested in their money. They were more invested in performing their duties, which I think was the goal. It moved from what I would say is like a more creative environment where people were fantasy characters, but not only that, they were successfully running monster hunting expeditions and all of that stuff. Like the guild that our neighbors tried to do in 5.0 was actually successful in running stuff because everybody had a wealth of everything. They didn't need to grind if they didn't want to. The only people who grinded were the grinders who wanted to grind, because everyone else could get enough that they could do whatever their story was. But I think the realism is cool too.
I can see 50-50 because we put a lot of time into it last time, right? And that influenced Steve a lot because I did not want an RP job because it's a game. I don't want to have to turn it into a job, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why Steve didn't do anything. Steve had no. Steve was an alchemist technically. He did have a job. I was going to be a drug lord, but alchemy was so broken I couldn't get it off the flipping ground.
Yeah.
So it just never. But I mean, I didn't have a job. That was a lot of the interactions. Is people constantly be like, "So what do you do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I sail around." Well, I mean, like, yeah, but what's your job? I don't know. I'm a sailor.
Yeah. People said they went to the laundry, and I believe them, I guess. But we didn't meet a lot of people. Well, we didn't meet.
It was always it was self-serve, yeah. So
it was self-serve. It was a scam. Like it was a front. But like when I would tell people, "Oh yeah, we run the laundry," you know, we wash clothes for the Navy and stuff. Like there were always those pauses of, "What? That doesn't make sense." And then people would ask how it works.
We were washing your dirty undies, Flutter.
Oh God.
They were the big pink undies that kept mysteriously showing up.
And then Benny peed in the dryer, and everybody had to know that Benny peed in the dryer. Ugh, disgusting.
Yeah, that was one of the times that was when we took Benny on the consensual kidnapping because Steve was a scam artist and he was a kidnapper. But everybody he tried to kidnap was not a good target or was like, "Yeah, I'll come along with you," and was like, "Cool, this is fun. I want to come along too. Take me here."
Yeah.
No, I think we did it. Did we, Flutter? You're in the chat. Did we get the money from the or I think we eventually did get the money from the French. Or Benny himself gave me money, one of the two. But either way, I got my money. I was trying to extort out of him.
Nice. I just think that because, as Denver said, there was so much focus on the realism of trade, which a lot of people advocated for. A lot of people said, you can get way too much stuff. It's way too easy. There's no point in trading. People are trading 500,000 whatevers at a time, and there's no point, you know? So then we have this season where every little thing matters, every piece matters, every coin matters, and it was a completely different experience all the way through. And it seems like a lot of us were kind of off on it, you know, in some aspects, even though we had fun over time. It was just really hard.
It's like a pendulum swing, you know. It was one extreme and then it's the other, and the sweet spot's kind of somewhere in the middle, but it's going to take a couple, you know, swings back and forth before it finally lands in that sweet spot.
Yeah, and it's not to say it wasn't fun, but it was just there'd be some days I'd get home from work and I would log in and it'd be like, okay, let's see, IT's not awake. Okay, let's start chopping trees. Or I'd log in and see the trees gone. Okay, IT's out. And it was just, that's what I was going to do for the next hour or so.
Yeah. Imagine refusing to pick up the axe and still having to make it work, still having to make a whole laundry and whatever else we needed, which was very little, but man.
No, I mean, I understand you. That was a lot of that's where the, you know, allergy to work came from in RP is people would be like, okay, nope, you don't know me, but I'm allergic to work and that ain't gonna happen, buddy.
Yeah. Even the doctor was like, hey, what do you have? I just take trades for medical checkups and stuff. And I was like, I don't have anything. What are you talking about? It wasn't even a lie. I just had nothing. And she was like, okay. And I was like, hold on one second. I just went and punched an animal to death. And then I was like, here, you can skin this. And that's how I paid for Pierre's checkup. Because that's all I had, just the ability to punch.
Yeah. Even our ransom for Benny was, I think I asked for like 1,100 copper or something like that, which ends up being 11 silver. Like it was, you know, it was more for the RP than it was for the money. which is I think why we got some of our money out of them, is because it was such a pittance amount. If we had asked for like real gold or something like that, we wouldn't have. Because like Hidalgo said, nobody had the money to give out except for the Navy, and they were just handing out like candy, which is great if it happens every once in a while, but it was happening so often that it was just like, why do anything else except for go to the Navy? Because
Yeah.
nobody can compete with those prices.
I assume the goal was to get money out into the economy, but it didn't really work or whatever, you know?
It felt more
Maybe.
like a lucky lottery, because if you were lucky
Yeah.
enough to run into the one person that had access to the gold, you got all the
Right.
gold in the world. But if you weren't lucky enough to run into that one person, then you got the deal. And that's why it turned into such a thing where people were, they had such a dichotomy of like, oh man, I went to the Navy and they paid me this much, and then I went to
Yeah.
the Navy and took the same thing and I only got this.
Well, it
Steve's
sucks that we
best scams
lost.
were at the Navy.
Ugh, the Navy scams. Oof. They were fun though, I gotta say.
They were
They took a
fun,
while,
but
but
well, there were people there, so I could do the hey, I'm selling coupon books, or hey, I'm trying to get money for whatever it is, because I would run into people a lot. They were, it was equivalent to the Freeport, but better because everybody was there all the time. Yeah, MLG bought all the coupon books, but again, that's because it was MLG and she was somebody who has access to the gold. Everybody else that I ran into that day that I was like, hey, here's a coupon book, ended with Steve loudly yelling, well, I guess you don't care about kids, as I walked away from the conversation before they could reply to me, because that was my move.
yeah, nice one. Yeah, me too. That was my move too. That poor little girl who made that freaking schooner.
Yeah.
Or
Well, because my
girl.
gimmick was that the coupon books were for the Navy Scouts, so I was a Navy Scout leader out there trying to sell books to send some more people to Navy Scouts, because they helped turn my life around. You see all my tattoos? I used to be a thug, but the Navy Scouts helped me out, and nowadays I'm an upstanding person out here selling you coupon books, man. I'm just trying to get a couple. Look, this is so expensive. I'll sell it to you for like 50 silver. Like it's man. I was trying to figure out what Steve's accent was the other day, and I just could not nail it. But like 5 minutes talking about the coupon books, and immediately it's right back here. Like it ain't never left.
What a good realistic scam that often occurs while you're standing or while you're at red lights. So just a heads up, even if someone gives you a pamphlet that looks like it's to an actual organization or whatever, that doesn't mean that the money you hand over actually goes to that organization.
Yeah. Man, selling flowers, now that you said red light schemes, selling flowers would have been a good one too, but no one
that
would have
is a
bought if
good
you
one.
could. Yeah, stand there. Hey, you want a rose? Here's a single rose for your lady. Oh man,
Yeah.
that lady looks real cute. Man, I bet she'd like a rose.
Dang,
50
I should
silver.
have done that.
There weren't
if we
single
have
flowers
actual
and nothing to give them.
flowers you could pick
Yeah.
or give people.
No.
Oh, what if we had like female plants, like people who were willing to work with us, like, hey, just go stand at the docks and like giggle
Oh,
when people walk
that's such
by
a
or
good
whatever.
scheme. It's a shame we aren't doing the buoys in 6.0, because here's scheme brainstorming 3.
All right, so my last question on this list, actually, even though some of the buoys have left, whatever, I'll ask because we can. Throughout all of these interviews in the past, we've talked about the RP appreciation and like DMing people like, hey, you're great, you're wonderful, I really had fun. And then we talked about the channel and having an RP appreciation channel, and then it existed in LLRP, and we were like, what? That's crazy. And now it exists in Darkside as well as a thread. So I was wondering if anyone would like to provide like a, hey, I really appreciated this RP of some group or person or whatever.
I don't think she appreciated me, but I really appreciated Blue, because yeah, Twin Rivers too. But Blue, when I was Steve, because I'm only focusing on the buoy stuff right now, is one of the many people who I hit with the, man, why are you cussing so much? Which was a very funny joke to me, because in real life I have a potty mouth, but Steve, as a character choice, I decided wasn't going to curse, so he had a curse jar to stop me from cursing and everything else. So I would call other people out. for cursing a lot around me, and Blue is an Australian, so I'm assuming natively just cursing is, you know, in her language, because that's what Australians do a lot. So she was one of those people that ran by and was talking to her own friends about whatever she was talking about, and I was just like, you ain't gotta be so crass about it. And she stopped, and we had a whole big argument about like curse words and stuff like that. And I brought it up a couple other times I spotted her. I brought it up, and she just played it like, I don't remember you. I don't do that. But that was like that was so fun to me. And I never said it in the appreciation thread. And like I said, I don't think she appreciated it. But yeah, that was one of my favorite interactions, of getting to tell people that they curse too much, while in real life I'm like, fuck, shit, damn, fuck. Stupid fucking chair squeaking so loud. God damn.
Nice. Yeah. You heard it here first. Go on.
For me, it was probably the society that lived next to the zoo.
Mm-hmm.
They seemed to have a good group of people there, and
Was that the Royal Society?
Maybe.
I believe so.
That was the group that I was talking about earlier that we ran into with the builder, who was mad that we stopped to try to talk to him.
They took over the zoo after Tiny died, but yeah, I thought they gave us a big tour. The Five Torches crew, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, she did.
And the chairman, the mayor, whoever he was, I think Grampy played him.
Mm-hmm.
Was really good with Elias one night at the zoo, and I never said it out of character or anything, but I appreciated it at the time.
Cool. Grampy is a character who played like Alexander or something, some explorer that we attempted to scam for parking fines in 4.0, and we had like a back and forth with. Mm-hmm.
Talking switching subjects a little bit, talking about 5.5 now. Random encounters and stuff like that, like the one with Blue and, you know, Denver's talking and stuff. My favorite one in 5.5 is me and Flutter were running through. Oh, the Pegarinos were great. Yeah, the Pegarinos were good too. And then us running through the Navy, and that guy who was like real sad stopping us to sell horses, and talked us into spending all of our silver on a horse when we needed to buy a cow. And that was such a great interaction. I forget what the fuck his name was, but that dude was so good. And to the point that both in character Flutter and I were like, oh man, he was so sad. Do you think because he was talking about how he was in an abusive relationship and everything else. And we were like, oh man, we got to find him a psychiatrist. So we spent a lot of time asking people if they were psychiatrists so that we could find somebody for him to talk to, because we felt bad about him. That dude was great. I forget what his name was, but we ran into him a couple times. He was going to sell us ice, but that was around the time that we put play in. And
well, that makes me feel better.
Bro, thank you.
You know,
we did shout him out in the RP channel too at the time that it happened, but you know, it's been like a month, so I forgot who he was. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what his actual name is, but Crow was the character name.
I barely played 5 or 0.5.
Yeah.
And basically I just kind of hooked up with some friends from Strongbridge and had a chill little time for about a month.
Yeah, we named the horse should have been a cow. Because we were saving money up for a cow because it was going to be the start of our dairy business. And then that guy had such good RP about trying to sell horses that it said we bought a horse because he was like, I got to do this. He talked to us for so long. The best thing about it is we were kind of milling around because we had stopped there to like buy some stuff, and I saw him and he was just being creepy. Like he's standing on the second story of like this little area, and he's got the plague doctor mask on and the robes and stuff, and he's just being super creepy standing around. And then like the second or third time we walked by, we got close enough where we could hear his little plea, and he was laying on the ground like been moaning how he had to sell all these horses.
What a good scam. You probably bought a basic scam horse or whatever that you were warned about.
No, it was definitely like a bred Shire horse. Yeah, he became Jenny. He became Flutter, his best friend. No, he was Jenny with an I's best friend. Jenny with a Y. It was like, oh, that guy's kind of cool. It was like a great horse. I mean, Flutter's not wrong. We were really sad when it died. Like I talked shit about it so much in character, but man, that horse was the handiest thing ever.
Well, my shout out, I don't know the name of. I was hoping you wouldn't remember that person's name, but whatever. But I actually talked about mine to Elias in character, the guy who worked out a way to make the game using cannons or ballista or whatever. I stopped by his island in the north. He's the only person I managed to speak to while I was looking for my agent or something like that. And he was just up there in the freaking freezing cold, and he let me stand in his like warm area so that I didn't die, because Pierre would have just died. Did the whole food thing or whatever. But he also had worked out the way this game works and like how to shoot it, how to use targets. And it's like this idea that we always think about, like, how can we make this work as a game, and nobody can really figure it out, but he had found a way using a cliff, and I was like, oh snap, this is a really good idea, because you can score it, you can figure it out. So then I went to Elias, and I was telling Elias about this game and stuff and how it worked out. And then I took that concept and I applied it to Samson's destruction of the building things that we had built, the like sculptures or whatever. Basically what we did was we shelled the beach at that point to destroy them. So I turned that around and used this guy's idea and that concept, and I created the game where we were going to shoot out away from the NFT event, which we never did because I never had any of the pieces that we would have needed. But that dude just chilling with me and talking to me, no idea what his name is, in the frozen north by himself, freaking was dope. Like, he sounded good, he had good ideas, he was realistic. I think that dude is amazing. So that's my shout out. I don't know his name though.
Yeah, the people that came up with like games, like fun games to play in character on the server is like one of the funnest things. When you did Splatoon that last season, and people that did all the different gambling games and stuff like that this season, I love that creativity. Like, that's really fun for me.
Oh yeah, that's true. The casinos were good.
Yeah, the casinos. The people that came up with the idea of doing the grab bags for the coin pouches, which is something that everybody did in 5.5. But when I first saw that, I was like, oh man, that is such a good money making idea. Because me and Flutter did it at 1.2 because we were just curious about the numbers of like what's the average for coins, because we were gathering so many bags and stuff, because grinding for coin became a lot of what we did in 5.5 because of price of stuff that we needed and just the way things were and a bunch of other stuff that I don't want to get into. But it's just with it, you figure out what the average is, and then you sell the bag for more than what you're doing it for, and it's such a good money making scheme because people love grab bags. Like, hey, how much am I going to get out of this?
Gambling, woo!
Yeah. Oh man, I miss gambling. They got me hook, line, and sinker. Should have had a craps table. They got dice now, man. I can. Oh man, I could have did a craps thing. 7-11, baby.
Denver, what were you gonna say? Anything?
Nothing.
All right. Well, we handled that then. This one went longer than even the last one, it feels like, but I think that doing these interviews is like a conversation where we talk about stories and stuff. It's going to lend them to be longer. I skipped a question that we can answer very quickly if you would like. What do you think about the Navy?
Too many rules, too much marching, too much standing around. Who would ever want to be in the Navy? That sounds accurate. Yeah. I agree. And they got stupid giant ships that aren't schooners.
Oh my god, yeah. We'll talk after the interview, no comment.
But also, not tomorrow, because I didn't find anyone to fill the slot tomorrow. If you want to do it, I might ask someone very, very late notice, so there might be one tomorrow in the middle of the day, but I don't know for sure because I have to pee right now and I can't think about anything else. But that's pretty standard for these interviews. So if you've seen any of the others, they generally end like this. And then on Saturday, I have 2 lined up. Pony Punch, which is insane to me, and I can't believe that's actually going to happen, and it makes me really nervous, but whatever. And then I have a Navy official that we're going to interview, so definitely come to that one, and I will turn off all the freaking channel points for that one, because we cannot do that.
Oh no! Can I guess who it is? Because I have a feeling I know who it might be, and I
Sure,
think they would
guess it
probably
up.
be cool with it. Is it Coda?
Nope.
Okay.
But
Then yeah, turn off channel points.
Coda is in this Discord. I didn't ask Coda because, well, it doesn't really matter why, but I didn't ask Coda.
What time are you going to start on Saturday?
I should know, so let me look at my schedule. I have a very
Cat wants to know so they can plan their Saturday.
Cat wants to know. It's
Oh,
funny
yeah,
because I'm
sure,
sitting here. I don't
chat.
want to know because my one guess was wrong, but I'm sitting here thinking about who I know through the Navy High Command and who is
Well, I don't think
the
he's
people that would
super
take a
high.
joke good naturedly and be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, bad about the Navy is funny," versus the people that would be like, "Oh," because there's a bunch of Navy people that take the Navy very, very seriously.
So it was copy pasta, and I did send you copy pasta. It is.
Of course you did. You told me the British Standard Time. Like, why would you ever write that out? You know where I live. Like, why would I ever care about British Standard Time?
There actually is another reason that I won't say out loud, but there is an additional reason beyond the fact that 2 of the people that we interviewed today are in other universes that are called Europe. But anyway, yeah. So, hey, it was a copy pasta. So on Saturday, 2 p.m. Central, 8 British, whatever they call their time, British time. And then the next one is 5 p.m. Central and 11 British magical time. I think it's summer. I'm going to guess that stands for British summertime, but I don't know.
Summer standard. I don't know. I was thinking about that after you sent me that today, like what we would call that. You know how everybody called like CST Central Stars time? Like
Well,
what acronym would you use for BST in character?
Frickin' Zekros, I don't know where he is. He must be on Mars. I sent him I sent him the same message, I think, and I was like, "Hey, are we still cool for 5 or 5:30 CST?" And he was like,
Honk.
He was like, "Both of those times have already occurred." And I was like, "I don't know what you mean by that." And then I said, the time zone I'm in is central in the US. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I did not know that." So there are other ones in like Europe and other places that are close to that freaking, I don't know what they're called.
The Australia one's like CEST, I think.
Yeah, he was on thinking it was like a CEST or something, and I was like, no. And then I was like, it's 10 hours from now, because that's what I default to. However much time it is from now, that's what I default to. So that was funny. Yeah.
Biscuit scone tea.
Biscuit scone tea time. Yep.
Oh no, that doesn't work because then it's TT because then it's tea time. Oh, I guess that would work. Yeah.
The
3 hours ago, but tomorrow, yeah, people do that a lot. I hear that so much, and people playing Conan on those servers and stuff now, but they're planning events like, can you come by 2 hours ago tomorrow?
Yeah, the freaking clock room was a beautiful invention that occasionally worked when I got it right. So, yeah.
Yep, good stuff.
That was a good idea that I can't believe actually worked.
All right. You go pee. I need to go eat because otherwise we'll sit here chit-chatting for like another 30 minutes. These are how meetings go.
Yeah, that's what we do. What'd you say, Denver?
Later.
All right, man. You have a good one.
All right, deuces.
All right.
See you later.
Deuce.
Let me move this, I guess, out of the way. I don't know what the image is behind it. Oh, cool, nothing. Dope. They are gone. Thanks for chilling. This was a long one, like I said, but we did go into some people's backstories, some people's actual events. having so many people here made it difficult to do interviews, but I do think that it was worth it, you know, to like get the homies together. Stuff like that is dope, right? Everyone wants to see that, see how we interact outside of who we played or whatever. So yeah, even though we're homies and we interact all the time. Like I said, I don't know about tomorrow. It's a maybe. So check that out. If it's not an interview, it will just be a regular stream, probably Fortnite or some random throwaway junk. Just because I stream every single day and I'm still sticking to that. And then Saturday, 2 more interviews. These will be archived in the highlights and also probably put up on YouTube, which I don't know what the link is for that. You could check them out there. And then all these people are dope. So if you like them, send them a message and be like, hey, I think you're dope. Or anyone else you interacted with across the servers. It's something we talk about a lot with the RP appreciation channel or another form of communication. Just say, hey, I enjoyed our time together or whatever. Please keep doing what you're doing. And that is the best way, I think, to shape our community and stuff, right? Because if you say some negative junk like, oh, I don't think you should do this anymore, then people are going to get salty. But if you say, hey, this is positive reinforcement and keep doing that, then people do that junk because everyone likes that, right? Just don't call out people who don't want to be called out, but obviously you can't tell, so good luck, I guess. Cool. I'm gonna go pee. Have a wonderful whatever. I'll see you later. Yep. Good night. I can just walk off camera. Sit. Need an outro. Can someone make me an outro, but I'll pay you? You.